bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome. How is everybody doing? Let's go. Give it up. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Wow. Today is Wednesday, January 17th. We are live from the Beverly Garland Hotel right here in Studio City, California at the big Upars event. Got a packed room in front of us. Our guest tonight is Jason Martell. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Let's get straight to it. Let's go. Give it up one more time. Let's go. Let's go. We've got a packed house here tonight. Now, we're broadcasting live from the Beverly Garland Hotel. Our guest is Jason Martell. Tomorrow night on Fade to Black, our guest will be Dannion Brinkley. Thursday nights is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. Of course, open lines all night long. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. You can follow me on Twitter. Who here in this room is on Twitter? Hands up, up. That's it? Got 100 people here, and 4 are on Twitter. You know what? I'm going to give you guys a tip. Twitter's going to be big. I'm just going to let you know. It's going to take off. It's going to take off. I heard the White House might even start tweeting here soon. But, yeah, it's 2016 Twitter. What we do on this show, and after tonight, I think you guys are going to kind of get a vibe, is we run interactive. And I know that you've heard Fade to Black. Everybody's here because of that, and Coast to Coast. And what I do every night is, and Rita's here. Everybody knows the famous Rita. Turn around. Rita, wave. This is her event tonight, everybody. Rita put this together with Steve Murillo. And so Rita has created this thing with the Fadernauts and the Fader family with Twitter. So after you leave here tonight, go get a Twitter account. Maybe do it right now. But and then you can hang out interactive live during the show. I take questions during the show. I get nasty comments during the show. You know, things like that. You guys are supposed to laugh. You know, it's comedy. It's good. It's good. I'm here all week. So that's what we do. This is a live interactive show, and it's about the audience. Jason here, who is one of our closest friends, and Taylor. Where's Taylor? There's Taylor right there. Everybody say hi to Taylor. All right. He'll tell you that we have built a family, the Fader family, and social media. Jason is very, very active on social media. Well, Taylor might be more active, Jason. I'm just going to say. But that's what we're about. And this show is live, and there you go. Okay, so tonight our guest is Jason Martell. And before I get to that, I got to do my normal stuff because this is going out live all around the world. You guys are seeing a live radio broadcast in person. Now, Also, when I ask a question, if you guys raise your hands, the audience can't hear that, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So if I ask you a question like this, how many here have ever been to a live radio show? I just want to know. Don't raise your hand. Applaud. You have. Okay. Well, that's what we're going to do here tonight. Okay, so everything is live. And I got to get a few things out of the way. One, visit our website. All of our sponsors are there. Click on the banners, and all of the promo codes are there. Please do that. We've got a couple of big events coming up right here in California. Next month is the Conscious Life Expo. Jason Martell will be there. We have and that is February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton. I'm asking Jason. He's my producer. And then we have Contact in the Desert. Who's going to the Conscious Life Expo? Again, don't raise your hands. Applaud. Okay. And then Contact in the Desert out in Joshua Tree in May. Again, everything is over at jimmychurchradio.com. I want to get a couple of things out of the way, then we're going to get the show going right now. Happy birthday today to Betty White. Right? Now, do you guys remember the internet? You're on Facebook, and Betty White died today, right? How many years? I haven't introduced Jason yet, but Jason, how many times have you clicked on that in the last 10 years?
7.
Yeah, right. Isn't that crazy? She's 95 years old, and I can say she's still with us. So happy birthday to Betty White. Jim Carrey today is 55. Kid Rock is 46, and then James Earl Jones, and you're going to hear James here in a second to a drop here on Fade to Black. Today, James Earl Jones is 86. Now, also today, who here was in Los Angeles on this day in 1994? Yeah. Right? What happened on this day in 1994? The earthquake. Isn't that nuts? I lived in Sherman Oaks. And anybody here, I'm assuming most of this room is from, the Valley or the general, except for
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit. That was one of the craziest days ever, wasn't it? It was like being in Beirut, Lebanon that day because the Valley was devastated. And it's just hard to believe that it was 1994. Unbelievable. Anyway, that was on this day in history. And I've got a crazy fader fact here, and then we'll start the show. The original Gone in 60 Seconds, one of the greatest movies of all time, right? Right? Let's not... The original had a 40-minute, the longest car chase in movie history, 40 minutes, right? Gone in 60 Seconds. Yeah, right. 40 minutes, and they crashed 93 cars in that car chase. So there you go. All right, let's get the show cracking. I'm ready. Jason Martell is our guest tonight. For over 15 years, Jason has been one of the leading researchers and lecturers specializing in ancient civilization technologies. His research has been featured worldwide on numerous television and radio networks. Of course, he's been with Ancient Aliens since day one. Let's hear it. Let's hear it for that. Sci-Fi Channel, Discovery Channel. He's currently a regular guest, of course, on Ancient Aliens on the History Channel, and his latest book, The Knowledge Apocalypse, is available on Amazon.com. Tonight, we are broadcasting live from Upars right here at the Beverly Garland Hotel. I'd like to thank everybody here at the hotel. They have been great today, and we are live from Studio City. So please, everyone, give it up for Mr. Jason Martell.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a whistle. That's very good. That's a Detroit whistle right there.
I'm going to start off the show like this. Jason and I are very close. Our families are very close. We hang out a lot. But almost 4 years ago, Jason had never heard of me. And I was on my second show over on the Dark Matter Network. Okay? Art Bell had just left the air, and I get picked up over at Dark Matter. when he left, and I called Jason. I got Jason's number from Steve Murillo.
Nice.
And and he knows the conversation I'm about to bring up. So I called Jason. He doesn't know me. This is how cool this gentleman is right here. I go, he goes, what's your name? Right? and I go, and I'm dropping every name that I can. And I said, I need a guest for tomorrow night. And he said, absolutely. And I want to thank you for that. My second show. And since then, he's been on about a dozen times, and we've become very close. But this guy has something to say, and he has been with us since the very beginning of Fade to Black. Got tears in my eyes. Thank you so much, Jason.
Oh.
All right.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right.
But thank you. But continue on some more of the juicy part of the initial interview. Since I didn't know who Jimmy was, and his persona and tone was a little bit different than any of the other hosts, like Nori or Jeff Rentz,
right,
or some of the other people that I can maybe point to. So his tone seemed a little bit different, fast-paced, really aggressive and assertive, and so you can kind of just take it from there.
What was funny, that first interview was after about 15 minutes, I think you got your feet under you and you kind of got where I was coming from.
Yeah.
And then you saw that I was actually just like yourself. Cool guy. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Not stuffy.
No. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we just... And
there you go.
What was that?
Stroking the ego over there. Yeah.
What? No. I mean that for real, because here, okay, I'm going to say something else, and Jason knows exactly what I'm about to say here. UFOs and this community of ours here sometimes gets a little too serious. All right. And I have done a lot of public speaking, and so has Jason. And when you get out there, if I like to joke around and crack jokes, and everybody's got a serious face on, right? And that's not me. It's not my personality. And I don't want to change and be Mr. Serious Dude, right? Because that's not me, right? Lisa, you know me, right? The guy that's here, is this the guy that you've had dinner with? Same dude, right? And it's the same thing with Jason. I mean, when you're speaking, sometimes the crowd is a bit serious. So I did a Upars with Steve 4 years ago, and after it, somebody came up from Upars, man, and was like, "Dude, you can't crack jokes. This is serious stuff." What? And I was like, "Man, what? No, man." And I thought I was going to get my ass kicked outside. I'm serious, man. I had to get escorted to my car.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I'm exaggerating. Okay. But he was serious.
Yeah, I understand. Some people can get heated. It's just passionate feelings. Right?
They think, and this is the other part of this, Jason, and this is what you bring to the table. We have a few different generations here of now, I don't want to use the word fans, of researchers, of people that want to attend and get knowledge and collect knowledge, right?
Yep.
And
like-minded people. And
so the generation, the older generation of these groups here remembers what it was like when they had to go through the 70s and get ridiculed and tinfoil hats, and you're talking about UFOs and people, teased this group. Right. The youngest group, 18 to 24, they don't care. They'll
think it's cool now.
That's right. And so the older generation remembers what it was like to go through the 70s and stuff, which you and I didn't do that.
I mean, I'm 42, and so I went through some of it in my own fashion as I transitioned early into trying to talk about these topics in inappropriate ways in college discussions and stuff, where people were like,
right.
Why are you bringing this up? So it was a learning process to find the correct and proper channels to filter this.
And so you've been on Ancient Aliens now for 10 years, almost.
We just started filming season 10, so completing this year will be 10 years of
that Ancient Aliens. That is great. That's a round of applause right there.
I applaud the show as well. Like, literally, you know.
Exactly. Now, you're a good-looking guy. You're a smart guy. You don't look like what my parents considered a ufologist in the 60s. You know, you're different. But you attract a new generation that's coming in, and Ancient Aliens has helped attract and inform an entire new generation. But what comes with that is responsibility. And how do you deal with that being... you and a few others right now are bringing up the rear with this new generation, a new crowd, and the network coverage. Well, now you got to be the smart guy in the room too. How do you deal with it?
Well, I'd honestly just say it's more of a seat of gratitude to be able to even speak to some of these questions and topics. I just saw Giorgio posting on Instagram a shot of him, Eric, and his other friend Ramon. And they're off to go shoot somewhere, as he put it, in the boonies. So I have no idea where the boonies are, but it's a very grateful and humbling place to be able to, investigate these things. As an adult, the analogy I like to give is, when you're a child, there's still mystery and awe and things that we don't understand. And as an adult, that kind of all fades away. We have like theme parks and things like that we can go to receive thrills. But researching these topics, I think, is one of the only other ways where there's still mystery and awe that even as an adult, I'm like a child as I find out new things and new information. And so that's really, for me, the adrenaline rush, is that continually diving into that pool of mystery and finding some new artifact or some new discovery that just makes you go, holy, and really answers, or not answers, but just raises so many more questions.
The reach that Ancient Aliens and network television now has achieved, right, has been immense. The audience that is here with us, they get it, but History Channel has now exposed the not only the ancient alien questions, but the ET contact question to millions and millions and millions of people that have never been exposed to it before. And then you just came off of Alien Con.
And I was just going to bring up Alien Con.
Right.
I mean, that was a very different experience. So like right now we're at Upars and like-minded people, Conscious Life Expo, Contact in the Desert. All of these are kind of the same feel.
Stay up on the mic, man.
Yeah, sorry about
that. There you go.
So Alien Con was just different. The History Channel used their promotional power to attract the entire Ancient Aliens audience. And so, I mean, there were 15,000 plus people at the event. Usually an event like Conscious Life Expo, something like that, I think caps out at around 2,000 people.
3,000.
If they're lucky.
Right.
And this was overwhelming, too. These people weren't there to have us give a lecture. They were just there to meet us, sign an autograph, take a picture. So why I'm bringing it up, and maybe you did too, is it was really interesting why the History Channel did this and how they actually responded to it as well. Not even the History Channel, but the parent network, A&E Networks. Their thought process was, let's create an Alien Con and have all these other shows, Battlestar Galactica and Sci-Fi Channel stuff, that will hopefully attract more viewers to shows like Ancient Aliens. They didn't expect, for some odd reason, that everyone from Ancient Aliens of interest would show up. And that's what happened. And so they didn't understand and had to kind of take a step back. And they almost said, we're not going to do any more of these because it's not what we expected as far as a turnout.
What?
Exactly. And so we all took a step back and said, what? And from what I understand, they're reevaluating that. But it was very interesting because they didn't have the insight that we would think that, wow, 15,000 people showed up, it was off the hook. No, they didn't see it that way because, again, still at the network level, they're not on the ground floor like we are on how they interpret these topics. There's still layers that they have to get through in releasing content, and the question of aliens and UFOs is still not fully penetrated, the mainstream media and overall presentation of the topic.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And who here has met Jason before? You can applaud or show of hands. Okay, I'm gonna trip you guys out because that was about a tenth of this room. Okay, so I'm going to speak to the other 90%. This is what Jason. This is what trips me out about Jason. His belief and his questioning of everything is real. What you see on Ancient Aliens or the man sitting here, this is what he's about. And I'm going to share this story with you. Jason and I and Rita and Taylor were on the roof of a hotel in Beverly Hills, right off of Sunset Boulevard. And Jason and I, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're on the roof looking at the stars, drinking martinis. And what do we talk about at that moment? Right? You would think we would talk about cars or what, but no, Jason wants to talk about what's going on in the universe. So there we were at 1 o'clock in the morning on this rooftop discussing E.T. for about an hour. And that's exactly, it's to your core, man. It's to your very core. And I'm not joking about that. This wonderment that I saw, this kid, we were both being kids. Where did this start for you? Because you certainly question everything that's going on out there.
It's still an ongoing process. I'm going to give you a reverse answer. Yesterday, I was watching on YouTube some old footage about the SR-71 Blackbird project and Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, which we have here, which is unbelievably cool, and the technology that they've created, some of their projects. And so there's other things that they've branched out from SR-71 into like the SR-92, the Aurora project, and some of these things that are not fully public yet. But all of that stuff has always been extremely intriguing to me. So I guess what I'd say is what sparked my interest is the same thing that I'd be interested in now, is the technology and the things that I feel like if anyone's exposed to the real field of ufology and does a deep dive, it's kind of like this floor. If you look down, there's all these tiles, and I felt for a long time that I was just living on one of these little squares. Maybe I was aware of the other little perimeters on this square, but one day I realized, oh my God, there's a whole other network of squares that I don't have access to because I'm quarantined here on Earth, and that there are people like me somehow living in some other civilization, breakaway civilizations, that are space-faring human beings just like us. And so I just have always been very much interested in pursuing that. And I think some of the initial things with, my background being raised as a Christian, and then some of the things where I initially looked into Sitchin's research, there are many little caveats that kind of led to an overall scope of what I'm interested in. I've chosen my path and background, which is ancient technology, but my overall interests, spawn much further than that, because this tentacles into almost everything that we can think of, even our own personal lives.
The discussion that has gone on lately in the media was this disclosure that happened with Caltech about Planet 9 and with Brown. And last week, 2 weeks ago, 60 Minutes did a presentation on the hunt for Planet 9. Where for you, this is one of your main focuses.
Great question.
Yeah. What do you think that does for not only pushing things forward, but how close do you think we are actually to this Planet 9?
I think we're still a little off the mark, because I'm not sure that it's a planet we should be looking for, but possibly another sun. And right now we're still looking for small little dwarf planets, or possibly a large planet X.
Stay on the mic.
There's a different model that I've been very much interested in, which is over 30 ancient cultures reference the idea of a binary solar system, two suns. And so our modern science has been looking at something called the precession of the equinox, and we have 12 constellations, and ancients kind of used these 12 constellations as a grand celestial clock to kind of tell time. We'll talk about this tonight, but that's why we have all these megalithic monuments and they're aligned, all these star constellations. They were using astronomy to track a larger system of time. And so that's something that I think, for me, has really changed the Planet X question. I originally came into this looking through the lens of Sitchin, who took the approach that a lot of the terms used in ancient Sumerian and Akkadian are not from the standardized dictionary that our mainstream linguists would provide. He chose certain different variations that led to a more colorful view of possibly what took place in our past. If you Google the term Sitchin today, unfortunately, there's a bunch of crap and disinformation from people who have their own, views of his 50 years of research. But in all fairness, his time has come and gone, and a lot of the things that Sitchin presented did have errors, but a lot of it was very accurate. And so when we talk about the Planet X part, there's probably another planet with other beings that lived there at one time. Maybe it still exists. But the Planet X we're looking for today as a scientific term is a larger question, which we'll discuss tonight.
Well, we got to take a break right here.
Perfect.
It's a perfect place to do that. We are broadcasting live from the Beverly Garland Upars right here in Studio City, California. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. It's Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back. Stay right there.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Sobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're of the Honey Brothers. Well, yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I went from being able to work 14, 16 hours a day with no problem to where I could barely walk a block to the store. I went on to the phytonutrients about 6 months ago, and within a couple of months, my medical doctor had cut my prescriptions down in a little bit smaller dosage. The next time I went back a month later, I walked into the doctor's office and he says, "My gosh, what's happened to you? You don't even look like the same person." He looked at my legs and the swelling had gone down. My blood pressure was down. The venous stasis ulcers that I had had on my legs for the last 4 or 5 years because of the poor circulation were all healed, and I'm feeling far better.
The new challenge will allow you to receive 2 months of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies free. And we'll even ship them to you free. Call now for details. Call 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code TALK.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black live from the Beverly Garland. Let's go. What a great crowd. Look at this crowd, Jason.
Thank you. There we go.
You know what's funny? I would like to say that they're here for me, but they're not.
No, this is Upars, man. I'm just a guest.
They are here for you, wow. Jason. All right, this portion of Fade to Black is brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Who here drinks Fade to Black coffee? Huh? Can you believe it? Our own coffee? What do you
Fade to Black? I would think it'd be like Fade to Awake or something.
Fade to Black coffee, man.
I like it.
It's crazy. Anyway, click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend gets you 15% off of your order.
Yeah,
Fade
try that
to Black. I got some right here. You want to take a sip?
You know,
it's clearing up, whatever this was.
Cool.
You can. Jason Martell. All right, now, one of the most fascinating things for me to try to wrap my head around, and that will include this audience, is the precession of time, not procession. And it's funny. Somebody comes up and they want to talk, a little, so man, the precession. No, dude. Right?
Precession, yes.
Precession of time. Now, what is fascinating with me, we're going to jump into this a little bit. I do want a show of hands here. Who understands what the precession of time is?
Precession of the equinox.
Precession of the equinox. Okay. That leaves 95% of the room here to expose them to something brand new. So let's start. The precession, if you take a ball... Let's just do this. This is a picture of Steve Murillo. Okay, so let's do it. All right. So this is the Earth, everybody. This is the Earth.
You're changing the dynamic.
Yeah. If this is the Earth and we think that it does this, right? Okay. Well, actually, if you shot a line out, it doesn't do that. Actually, it's got a little warble to it. So over
this is
time,
impressive.
Yeah. So over time, there's a little circle out here that line is going to follow around that circle, and the Earth isn't consistent. It's got a little jiggle to it. Now, this jiggle is about full rotation is how many years?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
How long is the precession?
Okay, so precession currently on the model that's used by mainstream science is a little over 25,000 years. There's a different model where I'm calculating it that it just comes down to around a base of around 24,000 years, and we can talk about the differences in those models.
And so this 20, okay, let's go 24,000 years.
It's easier that way, too.
Yeah, let's go.
12 constellations. Every constellation roughly lasts around 2,000 years.
Right. Okay, so let's go with that. 24,000 years. If you split that in half, which would be half of that now we're at 12,000 years, and we've got some magical events that seem to happen throughout history at these times, right?
Yes.
Now, how could ancient cultures, without, if we believe Orthodox academia, without any high technology, how could they be aware of this? Because it's 1 degree every 72 years, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so 1 degree. I'm not as smart as you think I am. I read all of this before. Hey, look, he's got his faded black shirt on. That right there. You might get a second shirt for that. How is it possible that Sumerian or maybe even Egyptian or Greeks in 400 BC, how is it possible that they would be aware of the precession?
Well, someone gave them this knowledge, but it seems to be something that's been passed down well beyond the recorded books of history now. So the best answer I'd give is this. Everyone knows of the Mayans, the Egyptians, Sumerians, Aztec, and various handful of other cultures that are kind of the pinnacle ancient cultures that we still have today. All of them, Hindu, of course, and some of these other Asian cultures that have artifacts and such, all of them seem to have been influenced by some lost culture that were great architects and had the ability to travel globally. So we see remnants of this in every culture, building styles and building techniques, a certain type of architecture, possibly the meaning behind a lot of these structures seem to have been architected by some lost civilization that influenced all of the great ancients that we still have left today. So one of the biggest pieces of that puzzle seems to be the way they encoded information that records their knowledge of this cycle of time that we call today the precession of the equinox. They made very clear their knowledge of going into what we would call a golden age, but also having very clear knowledge of losing all of that knowledge and somehow descending into what we call the dark ages. Even Plato was aware of this cycle and called it the great year of this repeating cycle that seems to have a global effect on the rise and fall of civilizations.
Okay, but that's great. But how is it possible to get this knowledge without scientific equipment?
Sure.
I mean,
it's not that complicated, actually. It's just what they did with it.
If you were a Stone Age man walking around foraging for seeds in the dirt, trying to figure out the precession of the equinox, I think is beyond what they were thinking about. They were worried about eating,
of course,
and surviving. So where would this knowledge have come from?
Well, we know today that ancient man was able to stand out just before sunrise and look and see whatever constellation that the sun was going to rise in front of would tell you, we're in the age of Pisces, we're in the age of Aquarius. And so it was a very simple time of going out at the time of heliochorial rising when any person could see and observe as to what age we were in. And then there were very easy methods. You could even do it with a string and a stick in the ground and track some of these movements. The fact, though, is that they were able to observe and record this with such accuracy that they embedded this knowledge into monuments like Stonehenge and various sites around the world. Giza, obviously, it's probably not a huge tomb. There's this encoded astronomical data that points to this cycle as to when these repeating times take place, the alignments within these structures light up, or you see a snake coming down the side of a pyramid in the form of a shadow, which only happens on a certain day because the sun is hitting it. So they were aware of these repeating cycles of time and tried to record where they were in either an era of going into a golden age or possibly coming out of a golden age.
Could there have been contact with either ET that shared this knowledge or from a previous civilization from, say, Atlantis and Plato, where this information was taught?
I keep skirting around your question. I'm sorry about that, about exactly the origins of this knowledge.
Well, you're not skirting around it at all.
I just have so many different thoughts that come to my mind. But I have an answer, though. It's okay.
Sure.
My thought on that is just simply that when we are in the golden age, and I want to define this a little bit more as we talk, comes clear, but when we're in this time of, let's say, a golden age, it might possibly correspond to if we're in a binary solar system, our suns being at their closest point and generating more energy, more ability for us to harness some ability that we have naturally that is, brought out by this extra solar energy. You think about on a nice sunny day when you're at your maximum. What if we had two suns that somehow supercharged us? My point is, when we're in the golden age, there might be some natural occurring energy that allows us to be at our best. And as some of the ancient Hindu texts say, we're actually reach a point where we can interpret God. we're nowhere near that now. So I think it's interesting that in the Golden Age, it's very possible in this enlightened state that we're interacting with all kinds of higher beings, ETs, maybe other dimensional beings, maybe beings that I just can't even explain to you, right? And that knowledge is grasped and retained in some form, and then tried to be, they try to hold on to it as best they can as they descend and lose this knowledge. And I'll give you examples, but if you look at some of the most ancient cultures, the first pharaohs of Egypt, ancient Sumer, you see this amazing architecture, and then we go into the Dark Ages and lose it all, right? Even everything about astronomy and all of this. And it's not till the times of Copernicus and Galileo that we're like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, we're orbiting the sun. But if you go back to 6,000 years, you see that the Sumerians had it all correct. We lost it all, and we waited a few more thousand years. We relearned it, and we're now starting to relearn even more.
Why do you think we have this Göbekli Tepe, possibilities of Stonehenge? Of course, we have the last modern ice age of now the Giza, the Sphinx. I can go on and on, that are all hitting at that magic number of 10,500 BC. We're beyond coincidence there. Why is that, and how does that tie into the precession?
I think it's just a way of looking at some of the evidence of dating, which mainstream science isn't currently using a two-factor approach. We use two forms of evidence. I like to do it in this way, which is, one is some of the astronomical knowledge that we've talked about, right? There's these monuments, and at certain times, there's alignments that take place with certain star constellations. You can't deny that. So that gives you some type of a dating reference as to why they would choose the dating times to have these alignments take place. Also, you can look at geological data, okay? So if you look at places like Giza, or if you look at Lake Titicaca, where we have, Machu Picchu and Cusco and some of these ancient sites, let's look at Lake Titicaca and Giza as an example. Both of these locations, Giza as an example, all the ancient pharaoh descriptions show that they walked down the bank, they walked down the planks of the steps of the pyramid, and were literally at the bank of the river of the Nile. So that the pharaoh could literally just walk outside the pyramid and boom, the Nile was right there. If you look on Google Maps today, you'll see that the Nile meanders miles away from where the pyramids are. That's thousands of years at least for that time, for that to have meandered geologically that far away. Same thing with Lake Titicaca. They look at these sites like Machu Picchu and Cusco and say, well, why are they built in such remote locations? Look closer, folks, on Google Maps, and you'll see that Lake Titicaca's actual place of where it used to be is right on the shoreline of all of those ancient sites. So they were building these sites on ancient waterways and locations where there was water that now geologically as evidence we can see the amount of time that the water is evaporated or that the Nile is meandered. Thank you. And so those are further evidence to look at not only the astronomical alignments, but the geological data, like the weathering of the Sphinx or some of the 10,500 BC alignments. These all seem to be stirred up into a pot and lead to much older dates.
Just recently, Scott Creighton's book just came out, The Great Pyramid Hoax. I don't know if you've read it. That doesn't matter.
I haven't, no.
Well, I'll help you out right now. I'm going to cut to the chase. In 1837, Vissi forged and the graffiti, the gang graffiti, the Khufu gang in the chambers above the king's chamber was painted in 1837.
Yeah, Sitchin, I think, kind of referenced that as well.
Right, Sitchin did, and then he had to backpedal because there was he had his evidence was a bit screwed up. But that's fine. He was right. But there were a lot of researchers that were backing Sitchin at that time that ended up, backpedaling. But now Scott's book is out. So
interesting.
If we take everything as face value, who here has read Scott Creighton's book? It just came out last month. Anybody? Okay, I will recommend this. I've been doing this on the show every day. Get The Great Pyramid Hoax. It's going to not only change your life, but it is now forcing to rewrite history. To be clear here, Vissy, who blasted, dynamited his way into the chambers above the king's chamber, found these cartouches for Khufu. And gang graffiti, literally gang graffiti on the wall, that was tied to Khufu and the quarries. Right now, it's all fake. Now that is how we dated, and that's how we identified the Great Pyramid to Khufu. There's nothing else in the Great Pyramid or in any Egyptian text or anything in ancient history that says anything remotely tying Khufu to the Great Pyramid. It's only this graffiti. Well, if it's fake, then that means it wasn't built in the 4th dynasty, right? So that removes that. 2560 BC and we are now back to ground zero with the Great Pyramid, which is we still don't know nothing, right? Now, if that is the case, and now we're talking about the timelines of all of this,
right?
That the Great Pyramid could be indeed what we have said all along, much older than what Egyptologists and what modern history and archaeologists are trying to tell us today.
Yeah, there's an actual famous architect, Miguel Sanchez Perez, I believe, and he actually did a very extensive study, an architectural study on the Giza Pyramid, and recently concluded, based on his research, that not only was it aligned, with this outer shell that was very white, like perfectly sealed outer casing of this white mica, or some type of other stone that they found mica in some instances. But he theorized that at the top there was also a huge golden ball, like the Eye of Horus, and that they were somehow using the pyramid possibly to generate some type of wireless technology, possibly for communication. And like the pharaoh being on his boat on the Nile could somehow speak to his commanding officers through some type of device. What I thought was really interesting about this is, there's been so many times over the years that I've showed pieces of ancient technology, and they would say, show me the type of evidence, or they try to refute it. One of the things, as an example, was in Egypt, we have in Dendera the Dendera bulb. And if anyone Googles Dendera bulb, you can see that there's an area in Egypt called the Dendera crypt. If you go there, there's this place where it's called the light-giving source. And on the walls, there's wall reliefs of Egyptians holding up a large light bulb. And you can see that it almost looks like it's plugged into something that looks like a transistor, some type of an energy reactor. Now, a lot of times people would refute that or look at the Baghdad battery, but especially the Dendera bulb, and say, we've never found any evidences of this wiring that you talk about or claim that it must have existed here. But we never think about it out of the context of our own technology, meaning today, if I told you, he's holding up a bulb in his hand and it's creating light and it's using wireless energy to generate that electricity, you might go, I can see how that's possible based on some of the sciences and things that we're doing now with wireless energy. It's not so far-fetched. 10 years ago, I'd talk about the Dendera bulb, and if I gave any reference to someone like a pharaoh holding a bulb and creating light out of that, they'd say, that's not possible. How could you even say that? There's no even wires. So it's just very interesting, the context of the technology we reference in looking into the past, because we only can be subjective to the things that we have today for reference.
The reason why thank you for that. That was extraordinary. I feel smarter already.
What an excellent word.
Smarter. Rita and I just went to the Metropolitan in New York City, right? And they have one of the most tremendous Egyptian exhibits and wings in the world, outside of Cairo or maybe the British Museum, but it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
And they have a couple of complete tombs that you can go into, right? So that they brought over. They've got 3. So you walk in there, and it is so claustrophobic and so closed in. But you look, and the artwork, the sculpture, what is carved and painted is beyond word. I mean, it's just beyond anything that you can imagine. And they didn't do that by candlelight, right? There's just there's no way that somebody is in there doing it like that, or with a reflecting silver mirror going off a bunch of walls. There's no soot. There's nothing going on. There's no evidence of flame.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist. There's only one way to make that happen. With electricity and with a light bulb. Why can't we just explore this idea? Why does everybody have to poo-poo on this completely and deny it when it's there?
That's a good and fair question, Jimmy. I don't know the answer, but you're right that there's a lot of this evidence to suggest that the ancients were using, when we talk about mild forms of electricity, a light bulb, those are minor pieces of what this discovery is that the ancient Egyptian civilization possibly was using a much more advanced form of harnessing energy that we don't quite understand. And when I say the Egyptian culture, I'm not talking about 2500 BC. They were probably holding on to the tail end of this. But when we go back to possibly thinking that this could go back into like 10,500 BC, there's a lot more room for understanding that some of the first pharaohs like Akhenaten and the technology that was happening in more of the last higher age, I don't think it was just light bulbs. If we look at the the Grand Pyramid scheme itself, no one thinks it's a tomb. Another scholar of ours, Chris Dunn, wrote a great book called the Giza
Power Plant.
Excuse me, the Giza Power Plant. And he's got an engineering background and looked at all the different cuts and things and theorized that the same type of insulation that they have in the creation of the pyramid is just like today's type of energy reactor. It's got an insulated outer shell.
Right.
So all of these components show that the pyramid was most likely harnessing some type of energy that we just fully don't understand yet today.
Let's just say that they accept that it's not the Khufu pyramid, right? And that they were already there during the first dynasty, second dynasty, third dynasty, going back to Menes, right? And or before. That the Egyptian culture inherited the pyramids. Okay? And which is something that we've known all along. How does that change history, and who would have built the pyramids if the Egyptians didn't?
Well, I don't discount the Egyptians as builders. I think it's the question is who was the architect kind of guiding this grand scheme to take place. Obviously, there's a lot of question in the building techniques because it would have taken too much time to do it manually as it's proposed now. But, the thing is with the pyramid itself, why was it built and who actually built it, I think is a larger question that as we look further in the past, like as the great, one of the greatest pharaohs of the first, dynasty in Egypt, Akhenaten, was a very different pharaoh from all the other ones. And if we look at some of the things that are surrounding his exodus from Egypt, he has a lot of parallels to a well-known figure, which is Moses. And so that's one of the lines of research that I've been looking into, is that a lot of this higher technology seems to have been taking place during Akhenaten's realm. And at that same time, the whole idea that the pyramid was some type of a large energy reactor, well, you'd need to have some type of power device powering the reactor. And it turns out that the infamous Ark of the Covenant, which we know left Egypt at some point and was, used to put some stone tablets in, but it did originate from Egypt. And it's possible that this Ark of the Covenant wasn't just a big golden box. It was actually some type of large energy reactor, and it fits right into what they call the sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid of Egypt, possibly as a battery powering the Great Pyramid. And so that's a whole other topic of
We're
discussion.
going to pick that right up after the break. Our guest tonight, Jason Martell. We are live from the Beverly Garland, right here in Studio City, California. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black. Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
You get a Zeepa. You get a Zeepa, you hear me?
What's the name when you snort? It's Zeepa, Zeepa. It's the thing we're craving for. It's Zeepa, Zeepa. You can sleep all night. Zeepa, Zeepa. And wake up feeling right. It's Zeepa, Zeepa. Makes me love my husband more. 'Cause he no longer snores. Zeepa, Zeepa, it's Zeepa, Zeepa.
Zeepa's different than any other device because it actually works. A lot of these other devices, they just bring the jaw forward, that's it. However, the thing that makes Zeepa different, it stabilizes the tongue, basically, with this elastic band. But right here, Jimmy's telling you that this is a unique device. Go to Zeepa now, buy it, and stop the snoring. Get a Zeepa, ZYPPAH.com. Zeepa.com. That's ZYPPAH.com.
Oh, fall. My favorite time of year. Cooler temperatures and, well, let's be honest, layers. Lots and lots of layers. Look, I get it. We all have that favorite hoodie. Matter of fact, I've got a few favorite hoodies. You should wear yours. Enjoy it. I do. But I stay focused on my health year-round. And for me, I take Nature's Youth RSF from nature'syouth.com. Nature's Youth RSF from nature'syouth.com. I eat right, control my portion sizes, still maintain a commitment to regular fitness, and I get plenty of rest, and I take Nature's Youth RSF. It's okay to cover up your beach body for a few months, but don't just forget about it. Nature's Youth understands exactly what it means to provide top-quality health products, and Nature's Youth customers not only improve their health, they know they're also providing their body with the right nourishment to maintain peak performance levels and fight the aging process. So layer up and get started today with Nature's Youth RSF. nature'syouth.com. Simple to use, even simpler to order. Go to nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. We are live. This is Fade to Black from the Beverly Garland Hotel right here in Studio City. Give it up, everybody. Look at this room, huh? Wow. I just wanted to say, Jose Escamilla is here. Everybody say hi to Jose, the great director, right in the back of the room right there. Where's Camille? Where's Camille? Oh, man. I had to ask Camille because when I came out to find you, you weren't here. So there you are. Okay. Yeah, everybody's here. Oh, by the way, Fadernauts, Rick Quest is here. Hey, you got to remember, Rick, right now, Twitter's lighting up, okay? And he's one of the great Fadernauts. Fadernauts, Lisa Frith is here. Lisa, these are, the audience is like, what? It's because they haven't hung out with us. But Lisa, all right. So anyway, everybody seems to be here. Look at this room. Look at this crowd. Nice. Wow. All right. So we started talking about my favorite subject right before the break, and your research into that's mine. Put that down. That came from, did that come from South Carolina? This is from Freeman. Karina, where are you? Karina, did she leave? Okay, that's from Freeman Fly. He brought me the incense. Okay, the Ark. We do not know. We know nothing about the Great Pyramid. That's it. In other words, what is being taught in the textbooks and what is reality is two different things, right?
I think so.
Yes, and so when we are talking about the sarcophagus, which is what they're calling it, it is nothing but a stone box. Nobody has ever seen a body. Nobody's ever seen a lid. Nobody's ever seen a name. That doesn't come in. It's not part of the party, right?
That's correct.
But yet the Ark, Akhenaten, Moses, the Ark being a power supply, killing people, dropping people. You had to wear the right suit even to approach it, right?
Right, that's right.
Okay, and now all of this would come into play and make sense and answer all of those questions that we have. It's a very simple answer, isn't it?
Well, you bring up a couple of points there too, Jimmy, to hit on. So one is, and I don't have any visuals for you folks, but a picture is usually 1,000 words. This is something new that I've been looking into, and there's two angles of this topic. One is there an Akhenaten Moses crossover to being the same in one person? Are they one and the same? But then they're also looking at the powering of the Great Pyramid by the Ark itself and kind of tracking that down. So I'm looking at more of the technology on the powering of the Great Pyramid, possibly by the Ark. And in that, there is a bunch of interesting research from many other cultures, many other Bibles that reference the power of the Ark, looking into some Saudi Arabian Bibles, various other Semitic languages, Assyrian, Iraq, all have references of this Ark of the Covenant coming out of Egypt and its great power as to what army had this before it. So what's really interesting is that there is a consistency, Jimmy, as you mentioned, in these priests that were always present in invoking the powers of the Ark. And they always had this plate, this chest plate, with 12 emeralds. Now, there's recently a new gentleman on Ancient Aliens who's a Hebrew scholar, and he has quite a bit of knowledge around some of these topics. And what's interesting is that, as I said, it's very much embedded into many of the religions that we have, not only in visual form, but they describe how the priests had to be grounded in some fashion to approach the Ark. And we recently on Ancient Aliens, a couple seasons ago, did an experiment here at the University of Irvine with Dr. Michael Denon, who's the physics professor. And in his lab, we built an Ark site. Well, Ancient Aliens producers had a full Ark of the Covenant model built. Still one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen in my life is you standing next to the Ark. Yeah, and well, I'm glad we didn't, electrocute ourselves as well. The experiment was to explain how the Ark was probably grounded and had to be, if it had large currents of energy flowing through it, that you had to be grounded in some fashion to approach it. And so being able to use the two cherubim to make some type of an arc reactor of electricity pass through them, we did some experiments on camera using this model, and it was quite a visual to explain some of those characteristics. Now, what would the use be? Would it be a communication device? One of the things that I kind of envision here is maybe like a triangulation locator beam GPS unit for planet Earth, letting somebody know where to go on autopilot and find us. I know that's reaching. I don't know. But I think everything needs to be pushed to the center of the table here and discussed. Well, we love the show, obviously, Raiders of the Lost Ark, as a visual reference for the power and veracity of the Ark. And there are a lot of references, again, to visually showing the Ark standing in front of a certain army or carrying by priests, and the opening of it using some type of communication between higher beings, usually in the form of what they would show angels or angels standing next to some higher being. Whether it be Jesus or some other, again, ethereal form. So it's very interesting that it's not only used as a weapon, but also as some type of gateway to either invoke these spirits for communication or possibly travel. We still don't know. But But there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the Ark is a physical thing and that it can be traced out of Egypt, not only in form of story, but we can see that there are wall reliefs and actual artifacts depicting the Ark of the Covenant, a big golden box, 2 poles on each side, people carrying it, and it's shown all over Egypt and is referenced as a large power source. So when we look at things like the Dendera bulb or the Baghdad battery, some of these smaller references, as we say, how could they have created all of these amazing wall reliefs all over the ceilings and there's no evidence of soot, no evidence of flame being used? So yes, they were probably using some form of low-level electricity or maybe even wireless lighting, but that was only the beginning.
How so? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Oh, when we're talking about extrapolating things like the Ark of the Covenant possibly being used as some type of large battery that could be generating energy in the Great Pyramid for something that we still don't even understand, there are, again, micro examples like the Dendera bulb that lead us to these larger examples. Now, I'll give you even more simple of an example. You've seen, the Baghdad battery, the little demo that I've done. It's very easy to just make a clay pot and give it a copper filling and an iron rod, little rubber asphalt stopper, and you pour anything in there, grape juice, wine, any weak acidic fluid, you can generate positive electrons. And that's with one about this size. Maybe if you had a very large one or several that were stacked inside and you could generate, the one I do on camera gets about 4 volts. You figure a flashlight today can be powered by a 9-volt battery pretty easily. What if you could generate 100 volts with just a whole series of little Baghdad battery setups? So we see that in Egypt too, as larger representations of some type of Baghdad battery, but in a larger scale.
Now, when we talk about ancient tech, there has to have been something involved when you are moving 70-ton blocks. I'll leave Baalbek out of it, and I'll leave some of the other stuff from the Middle Kingdom. But when we're dealing with the Old Kingdom and the first dynasties, and we are talking about genuine 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-ton blocks of red granite, they weren't pulling that stuff through the sand with ropes. That's out of the play. There's just no way, right? What kind of high technology were they using to move these blocks?
Well, there's a lot of interesting references, and some of this is actually going to be discussed in the new season of Ancient Aliens, Season 10. We were just talking about some of this, is that some of these gods that were present in, let's say, Hindu, and even when we talk about, let's say, a great pharaoh like Akhenaten, there are references to certain of these physical gods, Kukulkan, Quetzalcoatl, that had the ability to have either, let's call it a worm, a special worm that they could put on a stone and it would cut through it, or they would give the reference to some type of a needle, like a sword. They had some special sword, but it was so thin, and they would be able to slice their opponent or slice a wall and then touch it for it to then actually separate. So a lot of these things, they're probably not actually a sword, right? It's a laser beam or some type of high energy source, beam weapon that allows for that type of precision cutting. And we can understand that now that we have that technology as a reference. But over and over, we're seeing the evidence for those types of technology having been used. Vitrification, any type of high glassing effect from the cutting of a precision stone. But more importantly, 2 things you brought up. One is, how do you move the stones? There's a lot of discussions around some type of levitation, that some sound or energy was used to hum or make a frequency that they could, the only thing that I could give a reference to, maybe that in the movie Dune, where they were able to somehow enhance their ability with a sound that not only to crack rock, but possibly levitate it. But then the other thing as a, overwhelming, ubiquitous thing that we see at all these sites is diorite, granite, some of the hardest rocks. They were able to cookie cut them and make these perfect, like scoop out right out of solid rock, a perfect circle or these intricate cuts. And the only way you can do that is to heat the stone to a magma-like state, right? So if it becomes so hot that it's almost like molten lava, well, then it's very pliable and you can cut it and make little cookie cutters, and then it hardens back into stone. We can't explain how they did that.
No, and when we look at certain megalithic sites, certainly throughout Peru, where these, and they did the same things over in Giza too, and that's what's really strange. These
statues and various.
Well, but also the inconsistent rock shapes that form into these wall structures. The thing is, if you want to make a wall that doesn't fall down, well, then you don't make it symmetrical, right? You don't use blocks. You have stones of different shapes and sizes. But how do you machine that together? And then going back to Pumapunku or Tiwanaku, and
either of those,
there wasn't a written language back then. There wasn't paper. How are they making these blocks and these designs without being able to write it down? There's something else going on. They want to say, well, you're not giving them a fair shake. They were smarter than you're giving them credit for. No, they were smarter than that. But how do they do it without a written language, with this engineering and architecture, that planning and duplicating the H blocks, right? You don't just do that by sight.
There's quite a bit of evidence that we see from not only keystone cut stones, where literally there are stones where there are molds cut out of two stones to pour liquid metal that will harden to connect them. We see cyclopean stones, like we've been discussing, that are these perfect cut stones with mortarless technology fit together in a way that will withstand time. And so a lot of these architectural style is kind of lost to us today. And so when you look at, again, all of these ancient sites, all the ancient cultures have this architecture. And if you ask who gave them this knowledge, they say the gods, Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, possibly Akhenaten. So more than likely, this is lost knowledge that was at one time being used globally by some lost civilization that today has left the remnants in all the great ancients that we still have.
Why the connection with Orion and Giza and throughout ancient cultures?
Well, there's two constellations that seem to be coming up pretty frequently, which is Orion and Sirius. So I wonder if there isn't some origin story to Sirius A and B. There's a very good likelihood that there's also many planets around both of those stars. And there are various cultures, even in remote areas like Africa. We have the Dogon tribe that's completely cut off, even today, from modern technology. Yet they reference Sirius A and B, which you can't even see with the naked eye. They reference Orion perfectly and give all of this kind of accurate astronomical data that they say they've been, ritually hanging on to and passed down to them from thousands of years. So again, I think it's probably some grand teacher that left this mark at some time, at the last time we were at the golden age, and we've been doing our best. Those ancient cultures all did their best to embed this knowledge for various reasons. And that's part of the mystery that we're still looking into, as to why they spent so much time to mark these monuments. For instance, if you look at the Giza Plateau, the three pyramids are pretty much a terrestrial map of the Orion constellation, because at 10,500 BC, Orion is perfectly aligned with Giza. And if you remember, the pyramids are three perfect in a row with the one slightly offset, just like Orion. So for them to have made those alignments at certain dates and times speaks to them saying that we were at our height of our civilization, and that's why we're marking this. Like the Dendera wall relief also shows constellations from like 8,000 BC.
The zodiac.
Yeah, the zodiac. So there's a lot of these things that, again, they're either trying to denote that's why we're doing this, is to tell you we know we were at our best then, or these artifacts are possibly just much, much older than the current time frames of 2,500 BC.
Do you think that the Orion and Sirius connections are either telling us to go there, or that maybe we came from there?
Yeah, so now we're getting into some of the Ridley Scott storyline of Prometheus and
this is the Jimmy
Alien.
Church.
And
No, this is straight Jimmy Church.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand. I don't know those answers yet, but again, I think scholars that we have a backbone of evidence to still look into, and I'm not saying it's the foundation, but Sitchin, and of course Eric von Daniken.
Right.
Glad he's still doing his thing. A lot of these scholars looked at this evidence globally and said, look, there's enough evidence to suggest that ancient man saw technology and that there were people flying around in the skies. Who those people were or where they come from doesn't necessarily mean that they were alien, right? There's just a lot of questions that we still have to answer. So that's really, I think, the fun here is just to continue to look at these ancient cultures with high scrutiny and hopefully uncover some other lost cultures and things that are still off the recorded books. If you think about it, folks, we use radiocarbon-14 dating, which only can be used exponentially for thousands of years. Now think about that, because the record of our Earth being, 4.7 billion years old, there are literally 80 million year pools of time where whole species could have gone and just slipped into the pool of time, and we don't even know about them. So we're, literally trying to scratch our heads over things like, Bigfoot or some of these things like a Loch Ness Monster. There's a lot of stuff that's probably come and gone, and we have yet to probably still discover it.
Do you think that the Sun Pyramid, Mexico City, the pyramids going across China, of course, what we have in Giza, and through that part of Africa too, it's not just on the Giza Plateau, but do you think that they had the same uses, and do you think that the designs, because we're talking about spanning continents here, right? And cross transcontinental information, which transoceanic cultures, which didn't exist, we don't think, at 5, 6, 7, 8,000 BC. Where do you think that there was the same uses of each of the pyramids?
Yeah, it seems that all of these great architectural sites were not built to save the civilization from other warring cities or warring clans. They were all high sites of worship or high sites of astronomical observation. And so that really speaks as to why they were built and what they were possibly being used for. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's very revealing to look into the past and try and analyze not only these structures, Jimmy, and why they have these architectural alignments, but some of the factors as to what they were being used for. And what we also start to see are, again, these are going to raise more questions, but when we analyze the platform of a lot of these gods and how they're represented, let's say in South America, we have Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan. They're always represented as serpent gods or riding literally a serpent. We go into remote parts of Asia and some of the Hindu and Vedic texts. You see gods represented as a serpent or possibly riding a serpent. A lot of these artifacts that actually show some representation of the power of flight, whether it be on an animal like a serpent or in some, could be interpreted as a rocket ship. I think we have to look at this with a fresh lens, that even some of the latest UFO sightings coming out of Mexico, someone like Jaime Maussan, who's kind of like the, reporter for 60 Minutes over there, for years has been capturing these undulating ropes in the sky, or big, what you would call possibly flying serpents.
Jose Escamilla.
That's why I probably brought that up as coincidence. I know you're in there somewhere.
That was good. Where are you at, Jose?
Hey, man, how's it going?
There you go.
So, yeah, and then obviously that speaks into further what Jose has captured. So there's a lot of modern footage that also could be interpreted by what the ancients were seeing and expanding on that knowledge, possibly with the communication of who's powering those craft.
Right. I kind of want to change gears a little bit because we're gonna hit a break here shortly. But you had a pretty amazing sighting when you were a kid. You were surfing?
Not a kid, but 20 years ago.
Yeah, okay, you were a kid. Well, you're still a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. You look great.
I'm 42, but I act 14. At least that's what she would say.
Yeah,
if she was here.
Right. So. When you go to Jason's house, you got remote control, you got drones, you got toys, you got that. Man, it is It's a cool place to hang out. It's a cool place. But anyway, and the Baghdad battery on the ship, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty
Dendera bulb.
Yeah, Dendera bulb.
Turn on the lights off, and the bulb actually
right
powers
there
enough
in the
light.
living room. Yeah, it's pretty trippy. It's a guy thing, The guys here were all perky. Really, it's a Dendera bulb. And, tell us about that sighting, because that was a game changer, and I like what you saw.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not really a part of my persona for what I would do for my research, but it's definitely affected why I do my research, and so I'm happy to comment on it. When I was, 22, I was living in Solana Beach and was waiting tables and was a surfer and had no interest in ufology or history or NASA or pretty much any of those type of topics. And for whatever reason, something went over the full 180 view of my, skyline in Solana Beach. And I saw these, it looked like brown clouds, and there were lights in them, and it was moving in such a uniform fashion, and they separated into, disconnected cloudy masses with still like things bleeping or something. I don't know, beeping and like flashing, and I don't know. It just, it really caused an emotional reaction in me. I couldn't, the mind, I've realized after looking at it now, I'll look at anything in the sky and eventually it clicks. Oh, it's a bird or a helicopter. That never clicked. And so my brain just went like, whoa, dude, what just happened? And for whatever reason, that sighting and then a couple other events that just simultaneously happened.
How long did it last?
It happened in 30 seconds. It was a good amount of time to watch this whole
And was it just one object?
I don't know. It was an object that seemed to be one object, but could shapeshift and do various things.
That's crazy. And how big was it?
It's hard to reference, but I would say it was like 3 or 4 plane, like 747 size.
That's crazy.
Put together. Yeah, it was a good size object, and it didn't make any noise. And so again, I don't really bring it up as a point of reference because, as an analogy, if you'd never experienced a thunder shower, lightning bolts and rain, and I came to you and I was like, you know what? I went out, you guys, and something happened. They're like rain. This water was falling, and there were these large bolts of like light and these sounds. If you've never experienced a thunder shower, it wouldn't really be a good reference to try and visually explain it. So
yeah, but
it's the same thing with any type of technology that you witness.
But we get it, and we want some more information here.
That's pretty much it. But I do remember the event, and it was something that, again, there were a couple other events. The Ray Santilli fake autopsy aired like 2 nights after that. And then my roommate was like, hey, man, there's this thing called the Freedom of Information Act. You should check it out. And then someone else was like, oh, look, there's this thing called the MJ12 files. And I just mixed all that. And boy, my brain went dark for a couple of years.
Right.
And I dove deep into ufology, and I emerged. And that's why I have a relationship with someone like Jose and various other people. I've been grateful to explore many areas of ufology. But for me, my focus I found to be nice and safe and fun is the ancient stuff. But boy, this topic obviously, just as we talked about earlier, just tentacles into so many other pieces of conversation.
Well, it's interesting how it forced you to go and jump down the rabbit hole. But looking back now, do you think it was us or them?
No, I don't think it was. I don't think that I have any type of influence that I can point to at that level to say
it was us.
Well, no. I'm not sure if you're asking like, did I get some type of influence?
No, I'm asking you as an adult.
Yeah.
Now this is 20 years later. Now you're a card-carrying adult. What you saw, was it from here or was it from there?
I honestly, thank you. That's a good question. And I would say I'd probably lean more towards ours.
Why?
Just because it's safer in the sense that all of the things that you can find about what's going on with our, real space program, our level of technology that they've been testing around the world with, the triangular craft and various other things.
Right.
It, to me, would make sense. And today, again, can reference, we have the Carillion metallic advances that they've just been doing where we can, make pretty much like a Terminator metal, liquid metal that can take all types of different forms and then harden. So we're already kind of doing these things in our own advances in technology. So it makes sense to me that there are probably things that if I can understand it, then it's probably something we're already doing.
Wow. Jason Martell, we're going to take a break right there. And I got to do this. Yeah, there you go. Jason Martell, this is Fade to Black. We are live from the Beverly Garland. Great crowd, packed room on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap. But did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you have sciatica, then you know all about the crippling pain that travels from your lower back down your leg when a spasm occurs. It's brutal. In fact, it's enough to take your breath away. Dr. Zhang's Sciatica Nerve Cream helps relieve persistent, shooting pains associated with the sciatic nerve in the lower back and legs. This natural, homeopathic cream contains the most potent ingredients to soothe even the most excruciating pain associated with sciatica. Stop the pain now. Ask for Dr. Zhang's Sciatica Nerve Cream at your local health food store or go online to trasknutrition.com.
Would you like relief from muscle pain, headaches, and discomfort to sleep better, have more energy during the day, and just feel naturally amazing? Fibromalic can help. Its blend of malic acid and magnesium can provide pain relief and comfort for those who experience fibromyalgia. It helps your body absorb more oxygen, and it works quickly for a significant reduction in pain within 48 hours, all without a prescription. Ask for Fibromalic at health and vitamin shops or shop fibromalic.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go back, Lee Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Look at this crowd. Let's go. Give it up. Live at the Beverly Garland. Jason out there mingling. You know, it's. I do want to say this to everybody here, and I know that you hear me say this a lot when I'm on the air, but I broadcast from a bunker underground with no windows. Okay? Over at Coast to Coast, I'm in a studio alone again with no windows. So when you hear me, you know, I'm doing my thing, I'm alone. I turn down the lights, I got incense burning and things going on, but I'm alone. This is a whole nother vibe when we've got this great studio audience, and it's just, it's totally different and totally cool. What's up, Brad? Everybody say hi to Brad. Where's my Fade to Black shirt, Brad? Is it at home in the... Okay, there you go. And it's just wonderful to do this in front of a live audience. And I want you guys to give yourselves a serious, loud round of applause. Let everybody know who you are right now. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Jason Martell. Okay, so Jason... how do you think crop circles, because this came up during the break, so... Crop circles. Yeah, wait. I know this is a little bit outside of... okay, but do you think that ET is communicating with us via crop circles today and trying to get a message across?
I don't personally think that crop circles are a medium being used by extraterrestrials to communicate with us, but... I haven't looked into it at a deeper level than maybe I should to give you a better answer. I have high-level knowledge, you know, like kind of tertiary, not higher. Let's just put it this way. The high-level cases that talk about how the stalks are folded over and the various methods that show there's something anomalous about some of these branches not cracking and some of that. Yes, there is some interesting characteristics, but I've just seen enough of these created by man that I'd have to kind of lean more towards the simple answer. Not to say that there aren't some type of mechanisms used in large scale on a geographical plane, maybe not in crop circle form, but when we go over to Peru or some of these ancient sites,
right,
we do see some forms of visual communication like El Astronato and even more complex ones.
The reason why I bring this up is there seems to be a constant communication that is coming back to us. We have FSBs that are happening right now, you know, the fast radio burst, FRBs, I'm sorry, FSBs.
Fast radio burst,
FSB is the Russian Secret Service. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
FRBs, right? And there seems to be something coming back. And what we just recently found, which was about 2 months ago, was Proxima b, right? And the closest star to us also has a planet, which means it's the closest planet to us. But it's the last one that we found. We found thousands, right? Thousands all over the place in the Goldilocks zone. The closest star has the closest planet to us, and there seems to be something going on there now, too, as well. Is there communication coming back at us?
It's not really I can only speculate, Jimmy. What I think is interesting is some of these things that we're starting to observe or try and comprehend with the data we're getting, like that large superstructure that they think is possibly artificial. You know, there's even things closer to home when we look into some of the activity that's happening in Saturn's rings and some of the things that have been reported there. My answer is just that I think we've already bridged that gap in a way where the public knowledge like us is just kind of grasping to understand. I don't know what the answer is, but I would really like to get access to that knowledge in a safe manner.
It's because it seems like they never talked about this stuff before. When I mean they, I'm talking about astronomers, astrologers, scientists, that side of the professional side of science. But now it's what everybody wants to talk about. is contacting aliens, or they're contacting us. We need to do this. We're discovering planets. We've got fast radio bursts. Stephen Hawking with his $100 million project, right? And he's heading. Yep. It's like coming at us all the time now. Where before we had to fight for recognition, and now we've got all the media that just does nothing but right now want to cover it.
Well, let me expand on that idea then from my perspective, which is, a lot of people would say there's a cover-up at NASA about extraterrestrials and such. Maybe to some degree, but not really. What's happening is there's a political backup. So, you look at some of the tools and things that we have. There's been an engineer at NASA working there for 16 years to develop an arm that's going to go out on a probe in 2018. And the arm is going to go, and it's going to do an analysis looking for amino acids or something. It's not going to go scoop up an insect or find an actual life, right? So we don't even have instrumentation on the books or coming out to go to these locations to actually confirm life or capture life happening. We're still looking for the signs of life. But what we find, if anyone's paying attention, is that all of those signs are being captured. Methane found in the atmosphere of Mars, flowing water, heat, all of these things are the elements shown as the basis for life happening probably on the closest planet to us. So it just lends to me that there's probably a lot more going on. And the quicker we can get access to that would be great. And I think there's probably a political agenda to hit us from many different angles to slowly release this information. But maybe there'll be some exponential effect just as it starts to really roll. I don't know, right? I'm ready, though. I'm ready for, in a safe manner, if possible, for the next level of revealing either our true space program, which we can talk about some analogies there, or at least what's going on beyond our atmosphere. Because in the next 25 years, he jokes about me liking drones as an example. Drones and surveillance technology and being able to access areas that you don't want to go to as your physical presence. That's going to expand into our solar system in the next 20 years, and we're going to have a connected internet beyond our atmosphere. And I don't know how they're going to hide things happening. Like if you look at all the STS footage that's been happening for years of our Star Wars defense system, just ping-ponging all kinds of stuff. Well, what's going to happen? We're broadcasting live from Jimmy Church Radio satellite, and you can move the camera and we can look around so that's going to happen soon. And I just wonder how they're going to hide whatever it is that's going on, because clearly we've had a presence in space. I just don't understand why it's being kept from us, but there is a much larger agenda, I think, to bring us up to speed on some timetable.
Well, we have Elon Musk and Mars, right, which is exactly what you're talking about. He wants to make sure that we have a steady internet connection going to Mars. I was talking to Linda Moulton Howe the other day, and I said, would you go to Mars, right? She's always covering Elon Musk. Now, he's talking about pulling this off by 2024, 2025, right? Would you, Linda, go to Mars? And she said, well, I got Earth files and I just want to, I want to, what's going on here on Earth. And I just, that's more important to me. I said, what about Mars files, right? Go to Mars and broadcast from Mars and we can do an interview from Mars. Would you go? Sidonia was one of your earliest things, right?
It's very much attached to my information base of
right.
what influenced me, of course.
So I got tickets. right here, man. Do you go?
I don't think I am slated to go on the first.
Would you go?
No. I wouldn't go on legacy technology built by let's say Elon Musk's startup firm. I would want to use possibly, some trans-atmospheric vehicle that already exists and it's been sitting in the S4 hidden sand-covered bunker. And I just want to take the little remote and be like, doot, doot, and get right in that thing.
Right.
And have some simple, instruction on how to use it. I'm sure that we already have craft that are extremely easy to allow, like we see in Star Wars, right? Like Anakin just hops in a little, jet engine slider scooter thing and can, travel to the moon, no problem. So I do think that there are things within our legacy. And again, if we pay attention and look closer, from the first people on the moon saying, why are you sending us here in tricycles when the military is here in Ferraris? I, of course, like that saying.
Yes.
And I just think it's interesting that if anyone pays attention to what they're telling us, is that the technology we've been using has been in place for quite a long time. We're just not privy to it.
Well, if we can take NASA out of the mix and have it privatized with Elon, now we are closer to not having interference, right, with the information. What is really going on Mars? I think that we probably can.
But we're still showing up in tricycles is the point.
Yeah,
No offense to Elon,
right?
But he's building a tricycle versus what we know probably already exists based on what we've seen.
Right. Okay. And so let me ask you this. So Elon gets there, right? Or his crew gets there. And they are running video footage, and they see something off in the distance, and they've got a live camera feed,
right?
And something strange is there, like the lights of the eyes of the Sidonia dome light up green, right? Something crazy goes on. And do they
mission to Mars? Okay,
right,
sure.
right. Well, hey, I'm just saying.
It's good. It's good.
I'm just saying. Do you think Elon would interrupt that video feed?
I don't think so, but I don't see that's the problem is that, right now so NASA has a live video feed and it gets interrupted, right? And so who's doing that? The question's still going to happen to Elon Musk, which is, I think, in my opinion, that there's a layer, call it DOD, NSA, what have you, of these organizations that are kind of policing that layer of information. And I say that because I don't know that it's actually like the USA has control of this. What I've also seen is, open up a whole nother little rabbit hole here for a moment, is that there seems to be another layer around alien tech and how it's presented and classified globally, possibly is like licensing it as technology. There seems to be, various stories of reverse engineering projects and things that have come out in various channels, kind of on the free internet, if you will, about how some of these projects are how they approach them. Some of these things like the Carrot project, if anyone saw some of that stuff.
Carrot is one of the most who knows Carrot? K-A-R-A-T. 2? Okay, there's the rabbit hole. You guys write that down. Carrot up in Silicon Valley. The Dragonfly drones, right? Yep.
Yeah, it's just
it is one of the craziest, most fascinating, non-debunked subjects out there. It's so deep and so wide. But Carrot was in Palo Alto, California, right?
Yeah, that's what the documents claim.
The documents, an underground facility where they backward engineered alien tech and anti-gravity specifically. But this is the trippy part. Now I'm gonna keep this very brief. Jason is the guest. You guys don't care what I have to say.
No, I do. This is cool, man. I would talk about it anyway. So go ahead.
Is this the tech ran? The software ran from symbols that were on the outside of these objects. Now, think outside of the box for a second. We all know software, right? Software, ones and zeros. Well, here, what activated these craft and the anti-gravity, and you've got to go and look at the drawings that are there and the photographs of the objects, too, as well, that the writing on the outside of these was the actual software itself. It is so outside of the box and so unrelatable to how we look at technology today. It just doesn't compute. Is Michael here? Okay.
One analogy.
We've got a lot of friends here tonight, and I'm just did I just catch you? Okay, good. Where is he? Okay, there you go. It's like a family, man. This is this is great.
All you see is familiar faces. One analogy talking about that. You look at a lot of the technology, and I wonder if we compare the space program to other facets of technology, you can see that there's an obvious drop off of something kind of anomalous here. if you look at the space program and we go to the moon in 1969 and the type of rocket technology that we're using, and then we kind of stop, right? There's no more manned missions to the moon. We kind of wonder like why that is. And then you look at all the other advancing fields, let's say healthcare, and the advances that we've made in, deciphering the genome and, understanding genetic markers and these things. Or if we look at, let's say, car technology or mobile technology, communication technology and such, all of these, the computer itself, right? It started like 75 megahertz. Now it's like 4.3 gigahertz. Each field has continued to advance except the space program. Why is that? That's because it went dark, most likely. It's of course, it's continuing to advance. And that's why even on YouTube yesterday, I spent like half an hour clicking on a few clips about SR-92 and the Aurora project, various footage of, the three-pronged nuclear craft with some power cell in the center, seen in Belgium and in Germany and all these various places. But then you find these other footage that I was like, wow, I've never seen this from the 80s. People talking about some of this, showing huge cargo planes escorting a triangle, and someone's like filming, and you're like, I never saw that shot. But more and more of this stuff is just showing up on YouTube, and literally anyone of interest just spends half an hour. I'm not trying to declassify or it's just kind of interesting. More and more of it's just being released. So I think it's allowing all of us to come to a more general consensus for something, hopefully, that they're going to release. We're going to be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It's hard for me to accept that in 1972 we shut down the Apollo program and that we just decided to never go more than 400 miles away from Earth. Right? That's it. That's it. We're cool with just this. We went to the moon and we stopped. In 1972, 71, 70, my dreams were the dreams that they were feeding us. Moon bases, a Hilton hotel in a space station.
That sounds great.
Right? And we got none of that. This is 2016, right?
17.
2000.
It's okay, man. Continue. Go ahead.
Look at Jason. Jason's so happy right now. Look.
I got you.
Yeah, you did. But none of that happened, and it was supposed to. Well, I don't buy into that. I think it did. We just don't know.
We're not privy.
There is $13 trillion. That's missing. That went somewhere. Deep.
It's a drop in the bucket, probably.
Yeah, complete drop in the bucket. So, what do you think about that?
I would hope that at some point, again, there will be a crossover that, all of things at the military level always seem to filter into the public domain at some point. So it just seems that the last upgrade we've had towards, let's say, our aircraft, looking at, the big B-2 bomber and the stealth project, F-117 and various, evolutions of that. And that's kind of it, right? So there's definitely another layer that they've been working on. And I'm sure at some point within our lifetime, these things are going to be revealed. And I'm just wondering when they're going to bridge that gap. Already, if you were applying for the Air Force and you're like 19, you have a choice to either go literally fly, drones and such, or go work in space. I mean, that's what the commercials show you. Go work in space. The Air Force isn't like flying jets anymore. It's like you go to space. Well, what are they doing?
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, there's definitely another layer there, folks, that you're not being shown unless you look for it. And I'm not interested in pursuing access down that path at my age and for what my personal goals are. But as an entrepreneur, looking at someone like Elon Musk or others who do have the ability to launch their own platform into space, that's something I'm much more interested in. And using, again, a connected community, Vadernauts. Wow, people in numbers can really do a lot when we're committed to doing something.
Okay, this is my favorite subject of the month, Antarctica. Well, obviously, it's not just mine, right? Antarctica. Something going on down there, my brother. And if we look to a couple of things with your research, certainly the precession, the possibility of transoceanic cultures, Plato, Atlantis, high technology, where did they go? Where did it come from? Everything kind of comes into play. There seems to be some activity down there right now. What do you think that they are looking for?
I would say that there's maybe I can only speculate, but maybe there's possibly some other lost civilization or some layer of, evidence of an existence that they've possibly uncovered, or could be looking for, layers of technology that are possibly so old that they want to be very careful about revealing it. If you look at some of the evidence on the maps that we have from these ancient cultures, Perry Reese map, the Phineas map, they're showing Antarctica in ways that make it so that it was explored at one time. There's no way that they can know the topography, the actual land continent
under the ice,
because we're talking about at least a mile of ice that you can't see
2 miles.
through.
2 miles. Yeah.
You can't see through that. So a lot of these maps show the continents when they were connected, or even at least show what type of life and existence was happening much older in time. And you can see that these maps are referencing actual activity happening on the pole. So maybe there was some lost culture or something that they've actually started to uncover. You look at some of these movies too, like I think it's Alien Requiem something, right? And they all of a sudden, the Predators drill this large beam down into Antarctica, and they reveal this hidden city pyramid.
That would be a good movie. I haven't seen that one.
It is a good movie.
I don't think it's been made. Let's work on that.
No, it has been made.
Really?
Yes. Let me help you there. So I believe
Alien Requiem. Has anybody seen this movie?
I'm sure. Thank you. Yeah, Alien versus Predator Requiem.
Yes,
yeah. And so they basically find a huge Mayan type city of all the cultures: Cambodian, Mayan, Vietnamese.
That's the one with the moving walls, right?
Exactly.
Jose?
Yeah, you've seen it. Exactly. You remember.
Yeah, we got to consult Jose.
You got to ask Jose.
Yeah, got to ask Jose. Why not the possibility of Plato being right? Right? That Atlantis was real. And quite possibly Antarctica was in another place. We haven't been able to find Atlantis. Have not. We've been looking.
Just recently they found a shipwreck off of Sicily that's around 2,700 years old, and they found 39 ignits of what they call this orchilium.
Yes, I saw that.
Orchilium. I think it's orchilium. Basically, it's the infamous gold, not gold, but this infamous red metal, supposedly from Atlantis, that Plato described. That a lot of the sites in Atlantis, the temples and such, were built in this beautiful, not only gold, but this orchilium red, kind of copperish red metal. And so they recently found these 39 ignits of like these slabs of potentially this metal, and kind of gave the molecular breakdown. It's just like copper and zinc and a few other known elements. But if it is the actual legendary metal described by Plato about Atlantis, here we start to find physical evidence of artifacts coming from the actual Atlantis.
If you could put one piece of evidence on the table in front of the Supreme Court and talk about the evidence of high technology from 10,000 years ago, what would that one single piece of evidence, what do you push across the table?
That's a good one. One piece of evidence, probably a big rock that's sitting in an unfinished quarry, and say
Baalbek. Quarry 2 at Baalbek, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break right here. Now, listen, everybody, this is what we're going to do right after the break. We're not taking phone calls tonight. No, what we're going to do is take your questions, okay? So I want everybody to get ready. When we come back after this break, we're going to line up. If you want to ask questions, line up along this wall, and we'll be doing that instead of taking phone calls tonight. We're going to take your questions. This is Fade to Black, live from the Beverly Garland Hotel right here in Studio City. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Everybody give it up for Jason Martell. Let's go.
What up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I had gout in both my knees, and it's gone.
Well, I'm pretty stupid. I should have ordered it 15 years ago. Best thing I ever got in my. It's the most effective product that I've ever bought in my life.
He had eczema on his hand, and it cracked for years. He did anything from doctor, every cream, everything. And 3 months on the veggies and fruit, it was gone.
They're just awesome. They keep asking me, what am I doing? I told them what I did with my cholesterol. I had the blood test, right? And it went down 100 points. 262, now it's 162. Everything is just perfect.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Call now, 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code TSL.
Would odors, mold, and mildew describe your basement or crawl space? It doesn't have to be that way. Transform them into a fresh, healthy, usable one with the technologically advanced Wave Moisture Control Units. The computerized operation maximizes moisture control and also expels harmful radon, combustion gases, and numerous other pollutants. Dehumidifiers are old technology that do nothing for air quality and waste energy. Wave units are intelligent, self-monitoring, do not need maintenance, and will save you hundreds in electricity. Wave units are still running effectively over 15 years. They've been tested and installed in public and military housing and by property managers nationwide. Buy a unit now, and if your home is not fresher and drier, you can return it for a full refund for up to 12 months. What have you got to lose? Call now. 1-888-618-WAVE. 1-888-618-WAVE. Or visit mydryhome.com. That's mydryhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black live from the Beverly Garland right here in Studio City, California. I got to say, it's nothing like a hot and steamy crowd. And you guys got to give, you guys have been amazing. Give it up, give it up. Just absolutely amazing. All right, now for the audience out there that's listening in Radio Land, how many people here have seen something strange in the sky that you can't explain? No, you got to, nobody can see your hands. Really? Really? Okay, was it here in Southern California? Let me hear it. Okay, so it was out of the state. Really? Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do now, again, Jason Martell is our guest tonight. And normally at this point in the show, we take phone calls, and Jason's done that enough with me over the years. But we're going to take your questions. And so I want everybody to line up right here. See where Steve wave. We're gonna get the line going right there. There's the microphone. It'll give you an opportunity to participate. And go ahead, everybody line up. And so it'll be just like phone calls. Okay? What's that? I want Jerry to get in line. Okay. All right. What? Hey, Steve, we're live on the air right now. Right. Yeah, you want to come over and get on the mic or something? Me too. Steve Murillo. Oh, so the new series that we've got coming out this year, you guys are going to trip. Steve Murillo is, check this out. Steve Murillo is featured in a couple of episodes. Give it up for Steve. He's a rock star. Hold on, I got more. And your very own Wolf McCarran is in one of the episodes too as well. We didn't get Alex in because they cut me off on the friends list, right? It was just like, Jimmy, all of your buds are in the show, man. What they didn't know is they're giving me kickbacks, you know? So I figured the more that I get, you guys aren't laughing. They're like, wow, really? So where's Alex? Where's Mistretta? Mistretta will be next season. Okay.
We'll get him the next season.
Yeah, he'll be in next season. All right. So we got the microphone ready, and we're good to go over here.
Where is the mic? Paul's got it.
Okay, Paul. All right. So when you step up, do us a favor. Remember, we're live on the radio. So your name and a quick question, and we'll get everybody in. Okay. All right. So just a quick question and your name. Let's go first. What's your name?
My name is Glenn. Jimmy, a question for you.
Sure.
You mentioned about what you've seen in the sky. You and your girlfriend last summer were with Melinda Leslie.
Yes.
And I'd like you to address yours and her reactions to what you saw and how you saw it in the time you were out in Sedona with Melinda.
Okay. Well, no, it wasn't in Sedona. It was in Joshua Tree. We were with Jason. Steve was there. Alex was there.
Was this last year?
Yeah, last year at Contact in the Desert.
I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there last year?
It was the year before that. It was the year before. And we had a very dramatic sighting.
No, he's referring to the sighting that we had last year. I had a sighting with him. You had your... So anyway, Joshua Tree is a crazy place. Who here, again, applause. Who's been to Joshua Tree Contact in the Desert? Okay. Again, applause. Who has seen... who was at Contact in the Desert last year? Okay. Pretty. Who last year saw what I saw? Who was there with me? That's it? There was 1,000 people there. Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So let me address this. And it was Paul? No, Glenn. Glenn. My wife is back there. Rita, raise your hand for Glenn. Okay, that's Rita. Okay. Now, after the show tonight, I want you to go up and ask her personally what she said to me when we were alone in the car. I can't say that on the air. Okay? I will say this. I've told the story many times. And this is Jason. Jason is the guest tonight. It's not about me, but I'll say this really quickly. That the week after that, and this is what's most important, the week after that happened on a Saturday night. The next Friday, I was over at Coast to Coast on Friday and Saturday. And so I called up Lisa over at Coast, and she called me. She goes, okay, what do you want to do this Friday on Coast? I said, who's your guest? I said, me. She goes, what? I said, it's me. And I want to tell the story about what we saw at a Contact in the Desert. And she said, tell me a little. And I did. And I told her maybe 2 minutes of it. And she said, stop right there. Do whatever you want on Coast on Friday. Now, it's not about Coast. It's not about that. My point is, it was significant enough that I was willing to go and put on the table and tell this story to the world because I didn't care. You guys get what I'm saying? Yep. Do you guys get that? I didn't care. If I'm going to, you know how it is, man. You're taking phone calls and you get the crazy guy on the phone. Man, last night, man, the dude was in my room and I went in and flew around Venus with 3 chicks in a flying saucer. Right? Well, now I'm that guy. Do you get what and I don't care. I don't care anymore. I saw what I saw. It was there, and it was dramatic, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
One follow-up, because I want you to explain this. You didn't see this straight with your looking in the sky. You were looking through something. That's what I want you to address. What Melinda's
no, it was
using.
both. It was both. Okay. Again, Jason's the guest. But I'd be more than happy to talk to you after the show. Naked eye, I saw a bright green. This is 2 miles away, okay? A chrome ball. It looked like a Christmas ornament. That's exactly what it looked. A round chrome ball. And if it was that big, that many miles away over the mountain range, it was probably a couple of 100 feet across. That's what I'm guessing. But I could clearly see it reflecting, and I could see that it was round and it was a chrome ball. I then put the night vision on it. But at first, remember everybody, it was 5 minutes that it took to go from ground level and disappear in the stars. It stopped and then took off. Now, it's all on videotape. There were hundreds of witnesses that saw what I saw. I'm not, I wasn't a singular thing. My wife was there. But when I put the night vision on it, I was able to track it as it continued up. And then when it stopped, I don't know, a couple of 100 miles away up in the stars, stopped and then took a left turn and headed off to Orion's belt. I don't know, but that's what I saw. And so it was both naked eye. When we first stepped up, again, let's get back to Jason, but when we first stepped up, who was there with me on the cliff? You were there with me on the cliff? Okay. You remember when I stepped up when Melinda introduced me, right? At that moment, when she did that, I looked up at 12 o'clock just like this, and I see this star, the brightest planet in the sky, and it's way, and it goes, I was like, what? Wait. Pump the brakes on this truck, man. That wasn't right. And I bent over, I put my hands on my knees, and I was feeling funny, and everybody's yelling, and I look back up, and that's when I got the night vision, and I look with the night vision straight up at 12 o'clock, and where it disappeared, it lights up, and comes back about a foot, and goes, I was like, man, you guys are crazy, man. You guys are messing with me right now. I'm out of here. I mean, it was a mind-blowing thing, and that was with my eyes, Okay, next question. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, for letting me indulge.
That was cool.
Okay, really quick, your name.
My name is Bob.
Hey, Bob, question for Jason.
Yes, Jason. I want to know what you know about Nibiru.
Nibiru. You knew that was coming up tonight. Yeah. I let Nibiru go, okay, because I knew that we would probably spend the last hour talking about it.
Yeah, no worries. Well, okay, so that's a good question. Nibiru, from the legacy information of Sitchin, I have evolved my view and looking for that answer in understanding that Sitchin pretty much looked at this and described one planet that had a very elongated orbit around one sun, and didn't really talk too much about the idea that there is a twin companion sun. So more than likely, if there is a Nibiru-type planet, the reason why it could have such an elongated orbit would be because there is another sun which allows it to loop back around at some large periodic orbit, towards the inner part of the solar system. Now, if there's a Nibiru or not, I can't answer that question. That information kind of was on the shoulders of Sitchin's legacy, and a lot of people have spawned this new search for a Planet X based on that legacy information. I am not a proponent of that information. My interest in a Planet X or a Nibiru would now be more in alignment for looking for the idea that we're in a binary solar system and putting this context into a whole new framework other than like, let's look for Planet X. Think of it this way, folks. Right now, we think of our planet, our solar system, as pretty much static or stagnant. Our sun is not moving, but all of our planets are moving around the sun. The latest model is actually showing that we are possibly not a stagnant solar system and that we are a binary solar system. And so that means if
we're moving.
That's right. If our sun is orbiting another star,
right,
that means since we're going around the sun, we're going along for the ride. It's a whole new way to view the precession of the equinox and understanding a different view to say that our solar system is actually moving through space, and that's why our orientation is changing. It's a whole new set of way of looking at that mainstream science is only just tiptoeing into. Now, my partner, Walter Cruttenden, started a foundation called the Binary Research Institute and has spent, a good deal of time cracking the math on this model, which is a lot more simplified, a lot more logical, and fits a lot easier into the paradigm of looking at these ages of time that have passed. That's why the Mayans got so much publicity, is their calendar didn't stop at the end of time. It stopped at one age, which happened to be the age of Aquarius, the age of Pisces, and us going now into the age of Aquarius. That alone is a big thing. If you think about all those little symbols you see on people's car of a fish, what they think is denoting Christianity, it is, but that's also the symbol astronomical for Pisces. Now, we just left the age of Pisces, and that shift from Judeo-Christianity focus to something different or new is kind of why the Mayans kind of tiptoed or kind of got that ball rolling into this new era, which we're talking about now.
What's the Aquarius symbol that we need to put on the back of our cars now?
Yeah, right. That's yeah.
Yeah. All right, next question. Step up. Okay, really quick. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Danny Cruz. I'm with LA Talk Radio.
Okay, you're with LA Talk Radio.
Yes, Cameron Daxter, Jose Escamilla.
Okay, there you go.
I have a question of my own, and it's about the children on our planet today and how some are just so open to receiving and others are still very closed-minded and shut down. So how would you explain the children who are so open and psychic and seem to be connected to extraterrestrials?
Well, I'd answer it in two ways. I'd say one is still probably a societal block on how children are brought up and how they're exposed to spirituality and religion. I'm not sure where I should be looking. You keep pointing people. So should I look here?
No, look deep into my eyes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I think it's interesting that, there's a new shift into, spirituality and hopefully not just being forced a religion, but at a more higher level, to answer your question, I don't know. There seems to be, references of a new type of, I don't want to call it a hybrid, but there's enough stories of abduction and various other instances of genetic lineage coming into our pool where maybe there is some modifications being made, like we're a big petri dish, if you will, of some sort. So there are, genetic variances being introduced that our children are possibly more receptive to. But I don't know. I mean, that's very hard to kind of quantify that.
But we wouldn't be the first, would we?
No, we wouldn't.
Exactly. I mean, this has been going. The Sumerians have been talking about that forever. Altering DNA and creation.
The missing link. The missing link itself is pointing to the evidence that we've been genetically modified.
Man, I miss Lloyd Pye. That's where you were going. I miss Lloyd.
I wasn't, but thank you for bringing him up.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Lloyd Pye. God rest his soul, huh? All right. Who's up next? Next question. What's your name? Wait, this is like court, man. You guys are doing a deposition. He doesn't have to look in each camera. And okay, we need your driver's license, please.
I'm a Australian photojournalist for almost 20 years. And
you're not from Australia. You don't have an accent.
I do, mate. I do. And I've been just recently looking into, basically just jump down the rabbit hole and just looking into everything. What role, Jason, do you think that the media has, as well as that mainstream science, by not really focusing on the big things like UFOs in the world?
Great question.
It's a hard question.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
my answer is that in my opinion, most of the media outlets are companies and they have owners and boards, and those are to drive numbers. And, as an example, maybe loosely to answer this, if you look at something like Superman 4 or some of the things that they did to just try and, make these sensational headlines, and then it was like a big deal. No, don't do that. So we still suffer that today, which is the media outlets are there to drive numbers, not necessarily be reporting on the most, interesting things that are happening. So unfortunately, I think it's more up to individuals to come up with the consensus of what's probably going on, and hopefully power or enable ourselves with the tools to supersede the people who have the answers and just confirm it ourselves.
Yeah, great question. Thank you so much. Next, come on up. Step up. All right. What's your name, really quick?
My name is Jerry Wayne.
Hey, Jerry. How are you, man?
I'm great. How
it's
are
good
you?
to see you, man. Everything good?
It's all good.
It's all good. What's your question for Jason?
Just for Jason. Jason, how do you feel and what knowledge do you have? And I'm sure you think the CIA is covering up the Roswell incident, but could you expand on that?
Okay, well, my opinion on that is I'm not sure if it's the CIA or what body would be covering up the Roswell event, but in my opinion, the Roswell event, if you look at some of the data that's been put out there, like Philip Corso Jr. writing his book The Day After Roswell, and that the ship wasn't just a spacecraft, it's possibly a time machine, and that they've been kind of re-engineering and understanding this technology, and they keep sending it back and making it easier for them to relearn it faster. I think that's a very interesting line of evidence that speaks to it's not just a black and white, an alien spaceship crashed and they're trying to figure out how it worked. No, a lot of these things have multiple layers that, if again explored, tentacle into all areas of how it affects our life. So I don't know if maybe the CIA is covering up, but I do believe that there is definitely a cover-up put in place, and that something very fantastic took place at that wreckage site.
Thank you for that question, Jerry. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
all right, come on. Next up. Okay. Wow. What?
Okay, I'm Rodney Richard, and the question I have to ask, do you think that time travel is possible by UFOs, number one? And number two, do you think that there are aliens who actually go online in those computer chat rooms? And do you think that this new President Trump's actions are going to lead into massive UFO sightings, landings, and abductions within the next year?
Rodney. Everybody give it up for Rodney. A legend here at Upars.
Oh yeah, you always stump me with the good questions.
Rodney brings it, man. Rodney doesn't play around. Okay, let's start with number one, UFOs and time travel.
I definitely believe that there's time travel in our use now at some level within our military. I don't know exactly to what extent, but I do believe it exists. Question two, refresh my memory.
Question two is, do you think that there's aliens online in
the chat rooms?
Oh, yeah, in the chat room. We have that.
Chat rooms.
I would say probably not, but it's possible that some life form could use the internet to definitely look at our culture and understand globally kind of the litmus of how people are communicating.
This is where I step in and say that Jason is a disinfo agent because he's been in chat rooms and he's a time traveler.
No, but the thing is I've seen a lot of people in the chat rooms who claim to be alien and stuff.
Yeah.
They claim to be from other planets. Like this one guy claims to be like Casper the Ghost, and another guy claims to be like
take it with a grain of salt, man. That's what I would say.
Alien or whatever, tens
I would say
numbers and geometry,
Rodney, don't trip, man.
Yeah, no, I think you'll be able to decipher which ones are faking it, and if there was someone who was doing something very interesting, you'd probably get a sense that there's an individual who maybe does stand out. And Maybe they're an alien. I don't know.
Rodney has been to more MUFON meetings than Jan Marzan.
I know.
Okay.
I remember Rodney.
Oh, yeah. He knows
Thank
what's
you very
going on.
much, man.
Thank you
Thanks for the
so much,
questions, bro.
Rodney. Okay, who's next? Rodney. Rodney, my man.
Got it? Okay. Cameron Datsker from LA Talk Radio and soon to be Amazon series.
So you got the whole
my
staff
life.
here today, huh?
Yeah, I got everybody.
Okay, cool. Okay,
My
what's
question
going on?
regards Las Vegas and vicinity, and there's been a lot of visits. People have seen UFOs at night. Why is Vegas so hot right now in Henderson and in Nevada?
Boy, that's a good question. I don't know the answer, but I would tell you that, there's those bases out there. Anyone who watches what's happening from, personnel perspective, that terminal, the Janet terminal, obviously is always very active, and they're funneling people to these bases. There's actually a movie on Netflix right now. Boy, I'm going to not remember the name, but it basically is showing that there's a disinformation agent that has kind of been using people like Glenn Campbell type people that watch Air Force bases and then start saying, oh, look, it's a UFO. And then this gentleman who is officially with the Air Force says, oh, yeah, you should run with that story. Here's some more information. But they're basically admitting to the fact that they use disinformation agents within the ufology circle. And that was actually a gentleman that was stationed out of the Las Vegas area. So I don't know what's going on in Vegas, but I would definitely say that whatever they've been doing there for a long time is an ongoing location of probably exotic research.
One thing I wanted to mention, Jose Escamilla has a brand new film out to everybody, Skyfish.
Skyfish. All
coming
right.
out.
Nice.
And I wanted to mention for all the UPAR members, we're going to have a special trip. If they want to go to contact, I've got 300 rooms. People got to let me know because
300
Yeah,
rooms.
I got with the local Yucca Valley. But people got to let us know. And if not, they're going to lose a great opportunity and great price now.
Okay. All right. We'll get that out there, Cameron. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
But I kind of want you to expand on that a little bit. You're from Southern California, and you went to school here and college. You've had your career here, and with the research that you have done, you also know about the news and things that are happening. What is going on with UFOs in Southern California? From San Luis down to San Diego. Any night of the week, you can pretty much go out and see a light show. What's going on down here? Is it weapons testing, or is it that Malibu underwater base?
I had a really interesting experience happen recently with that large, what they said was a missile test.
Oh man! Who saw the blue light over California? Okay, well, there's a dozen. Okay.
I was in San Diego, and I was not really aware until after the fact that this had taken place. But for whatever reason, I'm having a beverage tonight. I'm fine. Doesn't affect me in any way. For some reason, that night, we were going into a restaurant in San Diego, and I noticed this bluish, like hazy, and I was like, what is this, And I had two drinks, and all of a sudden got really lightheaded and passed out unconscious. Taylor's not in the room, or she would confirm how freaky of an event this was. But it all coincided with whatever that was. Now, it was probably just a coincidence, but afterwards, when I reviewed the footage of that going across the sky, it to me doesn't look like, a rocket. It looks like some type of a portal being opened. But who really knows? It's just, there is a lot of this activity recently showing up on the books, and I don't know what it is, only speculation to say maybe there's some type of ramp up for some other next stage of an event that's going to take place. And I always hope, again, for something that's on the realm of safety and not some, bad preparation. So who knows? I
want to tell everybody really quick. Right after that happened, Jason and I and Rita and Taylor, we all got together. It was about a week later. And you were still shaking, man. You were not. You sat down and told me the story, and it messed with you, didn't it?
Well, yeah. I blacked out, and so I had no idea why I blacked out. And I'm not saying it was because of that. My question to myself was, did anyone else have like experiences like that? I didn't look into it, but I did think it was interesting that sighting was a very visual something, and it didn't seem to be a normal weapons test. And if you look at other footage around the world of a missile test of that type of nature that they were describing, there were similarities, but this thing looked very odd. And so if anyone actually saw it, I think, I'm sure you can relate to its kind of anomalous nature.
Well, we got to take a break right here. Give it up for Jason Martell. Okay, we're going to continue the questions after the break. We're going to do that along this wall right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Jason Martell. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. What's your Twitter?
Jason Martell 2012.
That's what I'm talking about. It's Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Combat, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right. We're back. live from the Beverly Garland right here in Studio City, California. What a crowd! Huh? My goodness gracious. Now I know what Bono feels like, when he's doing like Wembley, the Enormo Dome, crowds like this. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Our guest tonight, Jason Martell. We're going to continue questions. Like I said, this is a caller-driven show. Well, tonight, no phone calls. And where'd Jeff go? Where's Jeff Harmon? I know you've got a question for Jason. No, I want you to predict Jason's future. Can you do that for me? What's going to happen to Jason the weekend of February, the Friday, February 10th?
He's gonna meet with you and see some more UFOs.
Close. Now, Jason, I'm so screwing with you right now, but wouldn't that have been funny if something else came out of his mouth?
No. I mean, maybe. It's a nice inside joke, bro.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna let this. It's hot in here all of a sudden. It's hot. It's hot. All right, our guest tonight, Jason Martell. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Jason at Jason Martell 2012. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Of course, Jason's websites are xfax.com and jasonmartell.com. And how is Ancient Schools going for you? I know that you wanted to do a lot of research trips and some international stuff. How is all of that going for you?
Yeah, it really hasn't gone quite at the speed I'd like. Unfortunately, due to some back issues that I was experiencing in 2016. Health-wise, I'm doing a lot better now. I could perform a handstand to prove that, but I'm not going to. So Ancient School is a site that is allowing me to just have a platform to showcase some of the research and digestible parts of the research that you can download or watch, buy the DVDs. But the intention going forward is to use that as a place to, launch some of these expeditions and things that hopefully will happen over the next year or two, whether it's through me or one of my partner affiliates like, Childress, Giorgio, or some of the people from the show.
Why do you think it's so difficult to update history books?
Well, I don't know. I would say maybe because there's already an established literature that they've gotten paid to write, and to redo all that would be not only costly, but there's still not an accepted norm, I think, around some of the emerging topics. So to rewrite it might have to include various versions that it's a little too daunting to maybe tackle.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that so directly is because there's so many recent discoveries that were game-changing things, like the Antikythera mechanism, or the dating of the Sphinx, or just these out-of-the-box thinking subjects that have been presented. But you're never going to see this stuff show up in history books and what they actually mean. Like Göbekli Tepe. Why can we not, probably the most important discovery in history is Göbekli Tepe. Probably, if there's a game-changing situation, Göbekli Tepe was not supposed to exist. So everything was supposed to start at 3000 BC. And that's where everything. Before that, man was running around, wearing animal skins and clubbing things, right? But here comes Göbekli Tepe. That should have been on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, BBC, across the line as the most game-changing. Nobody has talked about it.
There are a few of these types of sites that are starting to get on the radar, and Göbekli Tepe is a great one, because it's, at least 13,000 years old. And so we're starting already at a point where civilization is off a recorded timetable. So when we look at these sites, you see a lot of representations of not only astronomical, possibly...
It's all there.
Yeah, some type of understanding, again, of astronomical knowledge, constellations of the zodiac and such. But what I found interesting at Göbekli Tepe, Bada Valley, even very remote sites like Easter Island and the whole Rapa Nui with these, Moai heads and such. There's a consistent theme at a lot of these sites where at Göbekli Tepe, some of these pillars have these long, slender beings depicted, and their hands are always wrapped kind of very piously at their waist side. And if you look across some of these cultures, we're seeing a description of a picture of this long, slender being. And I wonder if this is not some visual of this lost ancient race, this lost ancient culture. I wouldn't call them Atlantean. But even again, like at Rapa Nui there at Easter Island, those heads, they're not just heads. They've dug them out, and again, they're long, slender bodies. So a lot of these sites are depicting these people, even Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan at some of those locations. These long, slender beings are depicted. And so I just wonder if these aren't some remnant visualization of this lost culture that influenced all the great ancients we have today.
Okay, questions. Are you guys ready? Yeah. Oh, okay. Look at Big Boss Man. Okay, coming up, Rick West, wearing a NASA shirt, no doubt. Go ahead, Rick. Oh, I got you. There you go.
Okay. I tried to sit down and hold my peace, but I couldn't. There's one answer to all of this. It seems to me that instead of ancient astronauts, what's the possibility it's ancient us, the cabal, from day one?
Well, I never, in any of my research, suggest that we're doing this under the influence or guidance of aliens. I like to speculate that in our higher ages, we more than likely are gaining knowledge or trading knowledge, perhaps from not only spiritual teachers that could exist as physical beings that are human and maybe are just been here for a long time, but we're also talking about other, maybe they're extraterrestrial, but maybe other dimensional beings where there's a shared knowledge. Another way to look at it too is a lot of the ancient cultures used hallucinogens and would go into this altered state and interact with these beings and garner information and pull that back into the physical world and apply it in some way that was useful. So I think there's probably multiple ways that we were talking to either possibly ancestors, but other higher beings as well. And we were extrapolating knowledge from various sources and then trying to hold on to that as best we can. At least that's my thought.
I'm going to jump in there too, and this is my opinion. You can take ancient astronaut theory, ancient alien theory, ancient aliens, or ET in any sentence that has ever been presented by anybody, from Von Daniken to Tsoukalos and Martell and everybody else that's been on the show for the last 10 years. Take that and replace it with time traveler, and you can get to the same answers. Us. Okay? And I don't have a problem with that. I really, really, really don't. When we talk about these things that he saw in the sky or that I have seen or Rita, there's nothing to say that was E.T., I don't know, but could it have been a time somebody from the future that did a drive-by, interdimensional from the future that just came in and blipped out, wanted to see where we're, a time traveler going back and showing in Iraq, showing somebody how to make a wheel and then disappearing again, and now you've got a guy that knows what an axle and a wheel is about, but who showed it to him is gone. It makes sense to me. It just does. Am I wrong in that? Are you guys with me? You guys? Okay. I'm not looking for applause, but you certainly look stunned. I want you guys to think about things in another way, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Right? Yeah. Okay. Everybody's nodding. I get it. Okay, go ahead, Rick.
Wouldn't that even make more sense than traveling to another star, traveling through time? Because I don't know if
wouldn't that be the same
speed of
thing?
Light?
Well, I was going to say it's just a reference of our understanding of how we travel.
Right.
Someone asked me that recently, and they're like, "Well, how could there's too much time? It's too far of a distance," and she didn't understand the concept of explaining you could fold, not Taylor, but one of her friends.
I don't believe in that.
Folding space. Yeah.
Where are you going to go? You know, you're not going to go to the end of the universe. You're going to go to the next dimension.
But also, you have to look how Einstein looked at, time and space-time, and how all of that starts to become relative. So I think it's all the same. And if it is time travel that is involved, and it is us, I think it's all related. And look, it's too easy of an answer.
Sounds like the movie Interstellar a little.
Oh, man, everything is a movie reference with you, man.
Can't help it.
Yeah, no, because you're right, and it's just... All right, who's up next? Oh, Steve's got a question.
All right.
I have a question, sir. I'd like to hear your take on the Bosnian... how's that? I'd like to hear your take on the Bosnian period, and whether or not you think that's legit, if you know anything about the dimensions of that thing. Then also, I'd like to hear your take on the rise and falls of civilizations on this planet, whether they existed, and if those things coincided with, like, in other words, how far back do we go? We know Göbekli Tepe goes back 13,000 years, but are there other civilizations that preceded that? And do those rises and falls seem to correlate with this
Steve, we got 10 minutes left
with
in the
this
show.
Precession theory that you're bringing into view? Thank you.
Thank you
for that.
Steve Morello, everybody, put on a great event tonight along with Rita. Thank you so much.
I was going to say, thank you, Steve, for having me tonight. And I'll in the essence of time, I'll just kind of go into the tail end of that question there. There does seem to be a correlation.
No, I want to hear about the Bosnian Pyramid.
Okay, so the Bosnian Pyramid, based on Robert Schoch's data, says that there's probably nothing there. I haven't looked into it enough to give you my own personal opinion. It looks like a pyramid to me. I'd have to go there physically to see it. But there is a lot of these sites, like also in China, where they have hidden things, and that if we can actually get access to them, we're going to find out. The thing with the looking at the cycle of time and how it syncs up, in my mind, there seems to definitely be a correlation of when we're in the dark ages, it appears that our suns are at their farthest points in their orbit, and when we're in the golden age, the suns are at their closest point. The simple thing for you guys to understand is there's basically 3 cycles of time. The first 2 are very easy. When the Earth is spinning on its axis, this causes day and night. Now, we don't really think about it, but the Earth causing, just this daily rotation of spinning on its axis causes day and night, and we lose consciousness when it goes dark. We actually have a physical effect on us based on an astronomical cycle. We don't think about it, but that's basically because the Earth is spinning, and when it goes dark, we lose consciousness. Cycle 2, the Earth is going around the sun. Think about that. Just from that alone, there are physical things that happen here on Earth. The seasons change. Animals migrate, right? There is a third cycle that all the ancients spoke of, which is this larger cycle of time possibly caused by us having 2 suns. And so there is a correlation to the rise and fall of civilization. And it's interesting to note that in the last golden age, most likely that's because our suns were at their highest and closest point. And somehow that gives us energy or does something to us, which I'm still trying to comprehend. But a lot of the Hindu texts speak of a time when humanity is able to interpret God.
Well, and I'm going to jump in here really quick, because we've always, until just recently, I mean, when I say recently, in the last 30 years, until the last 30 years, we've always assumed that a single sun was the standard of the universe, of everything. And now we have found out that that binary is what is out there. And if we are not binary, we are indeed very unique.
You guys can check out a book called Hamlet's Mill.
Oh, man.
And, again, it's written by an ex-MIT professor and some other, I think, astronomer. I could be wrong on the last part. But, it's, again, talking about over 30 ancient cultures and how they were, analyzing that they all had knowledge and understanding of this cycle of time and possibly relating it to a binary solar system.
Yeah, so that we've got a lot of evidence now. Walter's done really great work on this, and so has Jason.
There's a video out there that you can watch, and it's actually narrated by James Earl Jones.
Oh, I thought it was me.
You sound like him.
No.
And it's called The Great Year, and it's a great video that you can now actually watch on YouTube or get it as a DVD, and it really touches on this from a very eloquent, high level with Darth Vader narrating it for you.
Yeah, and it's a great video, by the way. The thing is, with Walter's research and the stuff that is coming out of Caltech right now, we have known for a long time that there's some gravity that is messing with celestial bodies out there. And we can measure this. And the way that the effects are happening, Neptune is direct. Uranus, Neptune are directly affected by these, as well as Pluto and other objects out in the Kuiper Belt and in the asteroid belt. And we're looking at these things, and there can only be one answer. Walter's been talking about this for a very, very long time. As soon as Caltech came out with this evidence, with their calculations, that's the only thing that it could be, was this huge, large body out there. We don't know what it is, and we can't see it, but the math says, not that their best guess or that they have a theory, that the math proves it. And that is the way that they're taking this. So I think it's pretty exciting. Could it be what Sitchin was talking about? It could be. The point is that we never thought that Sitchin could have been right, or that there could be something else besides what is already here. So there you go. Next question. Oh, man, Steve.
Sorry. Well, what's interesting about it was what Jason brought up was that in these cycles, not only do they affect us physically, but also seem to affect the evolution of man, or the spirituality of man, the thinking of man. In other words, so as we become unconscious, we also become awake. And that's kind of an interesting concept to throw in there. You know what I mean? Yes. And I think Jeff Harmon would have a lot to say about that. Astrology.
Oh, don't get him started. Don't get Jeff started. Don't get Jeff started.
No, I mean, but I love the guy, and his work is awesome.
Right.
But I think there's a lot to this, and we just haven't. We're just now looking into it.
We're just really cracking the egg.
It's really exciting.
And it's really true though, Steve, that we. I brought this up with Jason earlier, where at 10,500 years ago, there was some or 10,500 BC, some amazing things happened around this planet. There was a lot of stuff that rose up, and I'm talking about megalithic structures and things that are preserved for us today to see. It happened. Is it all tied in? Is it all related? I don't know what the answers are, but I think we need to start looking at the great year and this cycle of time, where in this dark age that he's talking about, because these are really events. You know, these really did happen that way. It's not so esoteric, and it's not so strange.
You can mark the changes and see that we had this knowledge in High Egypt, first Pharaoh dynasties, ancient Sumer, even in Cambodia and some of these areas where they were building in that time, 3000 BC.
Right.
And then we lose it all, and now we're just starting to rediscover a lot of that knowledge. So it's an interesting cycle that seems to be.
All right, next question.
Yes, the first part of this is in line with something that Steve Murillo just mentioned about changes in consciousness. And there are some people who suggest the human race might have been instructed or taught in the dream state, in dreams. There might have been technology and space travel involved with physical presence of teachers and shepherds guiding us along in certain ways. But some are suggesting that we were also taught in dreams by beings on other levels of reality. And it's interesting that in some primitive cultures, they make no distinction between their experiences in the dream state and in the so-called physical world. One experience in the dream state is just as valid to them,
Sure.
as out here in the physical reality, in the consensus reality. And just one other thing I wanted to mention to you and ask you about is how conventional anthropologists reconcile the notion that our brains have not changed in 50,000 years. This is generally accepted among conventional anthropologists, that our brains have not evolved or changed significantly in 50,000 years, and yet, why do we only have 6,000 years of recorded history? It's a very strange enigma.
Okay, there you go.
That's a very good question, and I'd answer it slightly different answer that, if we look at some of the things like mitochondrial DNA, and it shows that the genetic strain that makes up a female and that's carried inherently by females and it doesn't mutate, that marker for mitochondrial DNA that looks like us shows up in southern Africa around 300,000 years ago. And Time Magazine did a big article on that saying, the Eve, and it was showing that mitochondrial DNA shows up around that time, which is interesting because that's what Sisson put forth in his book, saying that these beings, the Anunnaki, came down, found Neanderthal man kind of evolving naturally, and put their own genetic marker on them, essentially jumping evolution to create this slave race that was genetically programmed to want to mine gold. And so that's why that's in us so much that we love gold. But basically he said all of that genetic tinkering started in southern Africa 300,000 years ago when we realized that mining the gold was a arduous toil. The gods actually decided to say, well, let's fashion a being to do this. So
right.
It's an interesting line of evidence to look at some of these, what we would think are mythological tales, but maybe again through the right lens are giving us actual historical data.
Okay, his last part of his question was the brain's not evolving over the last 50,000 years.
I don't know what the answer to that would be. Again, like looking at the mitochondrial DNA and seeing when certain things pop up. Yes, the human being has probably been around for a lot longer than we know. But if you think about it, human beings are not like natural evolved here on Earth in just a natural sense. Meaning if you put us in the wild, we're going to get sunburnt, branches and things are going to scratch us. Not like an ape or something, or a Neanderthal possibly that was evolving into what we have as Bigfoot today. They're accustomed and built to be in the wild. We're not.
Okay. One last question. We're just about done. We've got 2 minutes left. What's your name?
Okay, my name's Troy Montgomery, and I usually do the camera stuff too, but I got here late because I just got out of surgery. It was great.
No excuses, Troy.
I know. So, a couple questions, but mainly, we're talking about megalithic structures and stuff like that, but also pyramids in the past couple of years have been putting off light and stuff like that, and people always talk about how they maybe collected energy back in the day, and so I want to know what y'all's opinions are on the light they put off. And I mean, after that they've been putting off more light, and there's been more UFO sightings, stuff like that. I mean, what do you think? Is it? And I've also heard like the theory that there's like Stargate spots. Like there's a
world energy grid.
Yeah. There's a pyramid on Mars too. We can probably if we actually figured it out, hacked it out, we could jump from our pyramids to the ones on Mars and stuff like that, or the moon, the one on the back of the moon that they just bombed. With
Okay. Thank you. I see what you're going for.
Are you okay?
Yeah, brand new knee. It's my fourth knee. It's awesome.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, Troy. I'll talk to you after the show, but great question. Okay.
I'll answer, too, while you're going back there. So I basically think that there was a world energy grid at one time, and it's most likely something that still could exist. And not only at these sites, but at geodetic areas around the Earth, there are sites that are built all over Peru even, that you can see literally in the mountainside, there's just a big doorway cut into a rock. And where does it go? So a lot of these things seem to be representations of places where they said a gateway would open or some being would emerge. So you have to wonder if that isn't some type of Stargate technology.
Man, the sun door at Tiwanaku.
Yeah, there's a few of those.
That sun gate still trips me out. Okay, one last question.
To begin with, an astrological great year is around 26,000 some years, and that's how long it takes the solar system to actually circle the Milky Way.
Here's my answer to that, though. The mainstream view of that is using that number, but what I'm saying is that if there's a binary orbit, the time that it takes for the planets when they get farther out, they slow down, and when they come closer together, they speed up. And so if you think about that motion, the average time it takes is actually 24,000 years. The number that they're using of 26,000 years is based on a different model that's not a binary orbit. It's based on this perturbation and this lunar solar theory, which again is not the one I'm supporting.
Jason, with all due respect, I just don't see anything that proves a binary star.
That's fine.
But I'm wondering if there's any case that's being made currently for Nibiru.
Well, you can go to the Binary Research Institute and look into all the data there for the binary star theory.
And if there isn't a case for Nibiru or some coming rather disastrous event happening, why are they building so many deep underground military bases? There's maybe 200 of them in this country, And Phil Schneider hypothesized at his time 20 years ago there may be 1,500 of them worldwide. So I'm wondering, what could they be expecting to go to this incredible expenditure?
We've all seen the movie 2012 or Deep Impact. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. And for me, in looking at the Planet X topic, have found it's better for me to stay grounded and not try to extrapolate and connect these things. I personally don't feel like there is now one that we should be worried about. That's why I'm putting the research forward, sir, yes.
All right. Well, that wraps the show. Now, listen, everybody, hold on. I want you to stay right there because I'm going to roll credits and I'm going to roll some music, but I want to take, like, the most kick-ass selfie ever with all of you and Jason. Okay, so everybody stay right there and then stand up, yell, scream, and do all of that. With that, I'm going to roll credits right here, and we're going to get out of here. What a great show tonight. Again, thank you, everybody. This has been Fade to Black. What a great show. All right. So, everybody, just gather right here. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by Hill J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. I don't have credits in front of me, so I'm just going to say music, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Guitars, Doug Aldrich. That's good enough for me. This has been Upars live with Jason Martell. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is copyright 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. Say goodnight, Jason.
Good night, Jason.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
We had a good time.